Hello, everyone, and welcome to everybody tuning in to the Battlecode 23 International Qualifier Tournament. Today, we'll be running to select our 4 international teams who will be qualifying to our final tournament. So we'll be running a double elimination tournament starting from the second set of rounds all the way until the winners finals and the losers finals. And those 4 will be slotted in for our final tournament. So without further ado, let's get started with the very first round. We have No BFS Please versus Coconut 9. And starting on 35, kind of a constrained map. I wonder if it's named 35 because there's 35 islands. And oh no, robots jailed already on both sides. We have 3 launchers jailed from red team and 2 carriers and a launcher jailed on blue side. I certainly have to wonder the map maker sort of if they imagined this to be so diabolical, adding those little pockets to be jailed within. But it seems like for now, No BFS Please has gone over to the top right blue headquarter and is just circling that cloud. I don't know if they realize that they're taking damage, but I don't think we're going to be seeing a 75% island win condition on this map. I would be quite surprised. Although actually Coconut 9 now capturing islands, maybe they'll be able to sneak away a victory if No BFS Please doesn't set down islands, but now they're setting down these anchors. I wonder who's going to get more here. No BFS Please takes it away very closely, actually, even though they win for most of the map, they nearly lose on the island tiebreaker.
Barcode. I wonder what product this barcode is for.
Yeah, I did modify this map a little, so the barcode is probably invalid.
That's unfortunate. Did you know they actually read the white parts? I didn't know that.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that either. Well, for now, let's see. It seems like barcode is sort of separated into 2 halves of the map with those currents in the center. That island in the middle of currents, a little diabolical, I must say. But for now, No BFS Please sort of just winning out on fights. Coconut 9 does have an amplifier running around, but it's swiftly dismantled. No team is really making headway into each other, honestly. No BFS Please gets that top wall and sort of harasses the carriers every once in a while. Which seems to be leading to a bit of a resource and robot advantage. But so far, nobody to capture any islands. So the map is still in the air and nobody's able to really identify where the enemy headquarters is and start attacking it. But now No BFS Please gets the first island. And maybe this is the beginning of the end. Certainly seems like it is. 4 islands captured, a 5th now, and that's going to be a 2,000 round island tiebreak in favor of No BFS Please, taking 2-0. Now into contraction, a massive map. Lots of clouds on the sides. I really wonder how this is going to happen. It seems like it really lets Coconut 9 just sneak in a little group of launchers for now, but No BFS Please, not really working with these clouds, is just going to charge into the bottom left headquarter. Now moving to attack those carriers, circling the mono well. No offensive seen by Coconut 9 in the meanwhile. So Coconut 9 really just not able to put up a defense here, nor an offense, but still able to hold on to their base just barely. But now No BFS Please is setting down anchors. 4 anchors placed, 5 anchors, 6 anchors, and that's going to be a 75% win condition. So congratulations to No BFS Please, advancing to the next round, and we'll be seeing Coconut 9 in our losers bracket.
Immortal Jellyfish versus the Rexecutioners. Interesting name.
And starting from 35 again, let's see who gets jailed. It seems like blue, the Rexecutioners completely avoiding being jailed in those little boxes. Immortal Jellyfish, 2 launchers stuck, 1 on each headquarter. But it seems like it might not matter. Rexecutioners sort of crowding around their top right headquarter with launchers, terrified of that one cloud. With no robots inside, but Immortal Jellyfish just sending in units to their death, not really able to make headway if they don't enter in groups. Now teams are both capturing islands. The healing advantage certainly quite strong here with islands all over the place. Robots able to benefit from maybe 2 islands at once of healing even. So we'll see who takes the upper hand. It seems like Rexecutioners is taking more of this map for now, but it is a huge mass of robots from Immortal Jellyfish. Honestly, they might be getting stuck on each other at this point with the number of carriers they have. But robots are still making it through. I think this is going to go to a 2,000 round tiebreak, but actually Immortal Jellyfish is starting to contest these middle islands. But it looks like it will be a Rexecutioners win off tiebreak. And now onto Barcode. We see some early fights. You know, Barcode is a very small map, two headquarters on a very small map. So lots of fights and lots of robots. And it seems like Blue, Executioners, is getting the upper hand. At first, they are winning on the right side, but Mortal Jellyfish taking over the left side of the map here. The launcher's just dying because they don't realize the headquarters right next to them. The headquarter, you know, might be obscured, but still does damage. And now maybe this is, seems like Immortal Jellyfish managed to free up the right side of this map. So Executioner is starting to struggle a little. They do have 3 islands down, 4 islands technically, because they placed down the anchors again. And if Immortal Jellyfish don't capture islands, they will just lose off tiebreak here, even though they are winning most of this map. Seems like that might be the case. We are nearing round 2000, and that will be a win to Executioners, even though they weren't really dominating the map. They do sneak away this island win. Now onto Contraction. We'll see if Immortal Jellyfish can stop themselves from getting swept 3-0. Well, it certainly seems like they have the upper hand. Once again, Immortal Jellyfish showing that they sort of dominate the map on the bottom left here. Now charging over to the bottom right headquarter. Looks like they're going to surround that, and this should be a pretty swift victory. Executioners not really putting up defense. A group of launchers just caught on each other in that middle section, completely oblivious as to what's going on around them, and will be a 75% win for Mortal Jellyfish. And now onto a new map, Soundwave. Yeah. Fun fact, this map is designed by saying Battlecode, then copying the Soundwave as accurately as possible. Whether that leads to a good map, I guess we'll find out shortly, but it certainly is a fun way to create a map. For now, it looks like Executioners just couldn't find the wells. Immortal Jellyfish, you know, finding these right side wells is really just going to inflate their economy quite a bit. And now there's just too many robots for them to, for Executioners to deal with. This should be a 2-2 now, and we'll be moving on to a 5th game already, which is exciting. That's a lot of robots. On to Sakura. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I feel bad. Seems like Executioner, once again, their robots really prone to being caught in these clouds. We see some of those launchers in the middle just camping out a cloud, maybe a tactical method, but also in Contraction, we saw that really lead to their downfall. It seems like that might be the issue here. Once again, some robots caught in the middle here, while Mortal Jellyfish just with more mana, more adamantium, just more of every resource is going to win off a 75% tiebreaker. So Mortal Jellyfish advancing to the next round. Executioners, we'll see them again in the losers. Now Battle Bridge versus Keyboard Crusaders. And starting on 35. Seems like we're getting a little bit of fight in the middle. You know, Keyboard Crusader is getting the upper hand early in the fight, but Battle Bridge launching a vicious attack against them and launching a wave of launchers. Those launchers dying to the headquarters actually. So, you know, might need to be a little careful around there. But for now, they do have most of this map controlled. Maybe robots will start to get stuck on each other though if they're not careful.
Yeah, Keyboard Crusaders has control from the bottom right corner of the map, but they're not using it to advance towards anything. And Battle Bridge eventually manages to overrun the bottom right corner of the map. We'll see if Battle Bridge takes this opportunity to start capturing islands. We see they do have some in the top left. We'll see if they get the island win, but
yeah, and Battle Bridge getting stuck on themselves, not able to complete the islands, but certainly winning the tiebreak.
Now we have a smaller map in Barcode. Both teams to be pretty even, trading blows in the middle of the map. We'll see if either team manages to get more robots and end up winning the fight, but so far it seems pretty even.
It seems like Battle Bridge getting the upper hand for now, at least on the left side of the map, although Keyboard Crusaders initially striking back on the right, but the launcher's actually sneaking through those currents and fighting off. See them sort of launching an attack towards the right side of the map whenever Keyboard Crusaders tries anything.
Yeah, Keyboard Crusaders is barely hanging on, but you see on the bottom right, Battle Bridge has captured an island, which means Keyboard Crusaders needs to start trying to go for map control and capturing islands if they want to have any chance of winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, Battle Bridge just has like a tiny army of launchers camping this left side of the map. And every single time a single robot from Keyboard Crusaders is spotted, that amplifier just immediately starts relaying info and a swarm of robots descends upon Keyboard Crusaders. So Battle Bridge just winning the information war here and also the resource war.
Yeah, we'll see how they do on the larger map. Both teams advancing towards the middle at the beginning. There are some resources there, but it looks like Keyboard Crusaders is taking early control of the middle. We'll see if Battle Bridge
wow.
launches a very united attack, actually, for a wave of launchers that seems super successful.
Yeah, Battle Bridge showing the power of this communication here. 2 amplifiers built, really doing in a lot of work, allowing those robots to swarm so efficiently towards Keyboard Crusaders. And Keyboard Crusaders certainly looks like they're winning at the start, but against such a unified swarm of robots, there's really nothing they can do. And Battle Bridge is going to take the set off the island condition.
Yeah, Battle Bridge showed pretty impressive combat, Micro.
Yeah, and Battle Bridge certainly one of our top international competitors coming into this tournament. We'll see how they continue to perform. Until then, we have Forcefully Drafted Kids versus Random Forest. Both pretty strong competitors, at least ELO-wise.
Forcefully drafted. Oh, both teams seem to get largely caught in the jail on the top
Oh
left and
no,
bottom
they're
right.
being jailed. Oh no. But for now, it looks like they are fighting. It seems like across the games we've seen, really the red side has been advancing pretty well into this top right. We'll see if that repeats again, but for now it looks like they're just sending in robots one by one. Maybe this is going to be efficient, maybe this is going to be a waste of resources. We'll soon see, but for now it looks like Forcefully Drafted Kids and Random Forest both sitting on a lot of resources, but only Forcefully Drafted Kids really exploring this map.
Yeah,
although
Random Forest has a lot of launchers just stuck at base attacking clouds.
Yeah, and the headquarter physically can't produce more robots, which really seems like a problem. Now it seems like Forcefully Drafted Kids is going to start taking the lead in resources and robots, but their attack's still ineffective against just a wall of blue robots.
Yeah, we do see Random Forest has some islands. Both teams have islands, but in the end, Forcefully Drafted Kids actually had maybe one more island.
Yeah, I think they had one more island. Honestly, a very close match. If Random Forest maybe advanced a little and captured maybe 1 or 2 more islands, they would have won that match. But now onto Barcode.
It seems we're taking our advice in this match because Random Forest is taking aggression early on, trying to fight for the middle of the map. We'll see if they manage to keep up the aggression.
Yeah, I mean, Random Forest seeming to show a bit of struggle with pathfinding on the more enclosed maps, but now that the map is a little bit more open, showing a lot more prowess, Carrier sort of weaving in and out and capturing lots of information. An amplifier also in the mix, and now it looks like Forcefully Drafted Kids just doesn't have the resources to work with. Those carriers going to the wells just really didn't get enough for the headquarters. And for now, it looks like Random Forest is in the lead. Still no islands captured, though. Perhaps Forcefully Drafted Kids will find a sneaky win here if they're lucky, but it seems like this will not be the case, as any carrier that steps out of headquarter range immediately destroyed.
Yeah, and Random Forest does have one island on top right, so they're going to take this game.
Yep.
So now that's tied 1-1. We'll see which team takes on Contraction.
Yeah, and a much larger map. We'll see how the teams do on this larger map. I mean, it seems like Forcefully Drafted Kids, a lot of launchers stuck in those clouds in the middle, but finally finding their way out. Neither team really showing too much aggression yet, but now we see a little group of red launchers going towards the bottom side, instantly destroyed, and now counterattack from blue. We'll see how Random Forest and Forcefully Drafted Kids are able to duke it out over the middle of this map.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is you see a lot of Forcefully Drafted Kids as launchers go through the clouds, trying to sneak in to the enemy side, while Random Forest seems to be taking a more direct approach just in the middle of the map.
Yeah, and it looks like right now, Forcefully Drafted Kids, a huge launcher advantage. They have 76 launchers. They've burnt in, but now Random Forest is sort of just losing out on all of these launchers. And it seems like Forcefully Drafted Kids, just with better economy, more efficient carriers, is going to end up taking this map unless something happens. It seems like they just had more resources to work with in that stalemate.
Yeah, and Random Forest, like defense with launches in the middle of the map just was ineffective because the launches to sneak through using the clouds.
Yeah, so good use of clouds from Forcefully Drafted Kids and very strong carrier micro in order to just balloon that resource advantage. Now to Soundwave. We'll see who can say Battlecode faster.
Random Forest has found the resources on the right side of the map, so if they can manage to return those carriers back to the headquarters, they're gonna have an early resource advantage.
Yeah, I mean, forcefully drafted kids also finding these resources, but it seems like those carriers are a little lost for now until they can cash in. But Random Forest, it seems like the teams are just fighting in these little gaps in the map. Now Random Forest launching an attack on the left side, lots of launchers standing there.
Yeah, but forcefully drafted kids is launching an aggression on the right side that seems to be a lot more successful.
Yeah, 38 launchers, almost double, triple, quadruple the number of launchers from Random Forest. Unless Random Forest can somehow pull off a defensive miracle here, through sheer numbers, forcefully drafted kids will win. Although lots of these launchers getting caught. But now everything cascading upon Random Forest. It's looking like it'll be a 3-1 from forcefully drafted kids, and they do take the set. We'll continue to see how these teams perform in the next rounds. On to Meteor versus Balls Crashers.
Are we allowed to say that?
Well, we'll find out, I suppose.
Okay, well, Meteor is taking an early aggression to the bottom right corner of the map. And it looks like it's pretty effective actually. Balls Crashers has lost control of the bottom right corner of the map and the top right corner of the map. It looks like Meteor in like 200 rounds quickly took control of the entire map.
Yeah, I mean, Meteor, one of our strongest contestants coming into this, very highly seeded, crashers, as we'll call them for now. Not really able to hold a defense here against Meteor. So many launchers coming in. It's actually happened so quickly. I didn't see what happened. Was it launcher micro or was it just more resources? Hard to know, but now Meteor is starting to capture these islands.
Yeah, Meteor seems pretty dominant in this game, showing why they're one of our top competitors.
Yeah, certainly. And just sort of taking over that right side, some launchers dying to the headquarters, but it's not going to make a difference. It's pretty hard to get a 75% win condition, but Meteor is actually our first team to actually do this. Out of 35 islands, capturing so many of those. But now into Barcode with a smaller map, we'll see if these teams clash. Seems like a pretty even skirmish, but then Meteor, lots of these launchers surviving on 1 or 2 hits remaining, actually going to dodge and weave their way out of this fight and become a big advantage in future fights.
Yeah, Crashes is down to 1 or 2 launches left, which is not enough to defend, really.
Yeah, honestly, just seems like Meteor's superior micro here, putting in so much work, and Crashers having a very hard time contesting even launcher fights, and Meteor coming out on top when they should really be getting even trades here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, Crashers is putting up a bit of a defense, but it doesn't seem like it's really enough. And Meteor is using their map control to start taking control of islands.
Yeah, and certainly some robots still left from blue, but they really can't do much. Lots of those carriers, lots of them ungrouped, and now Meteor is going to start taking over this map. Looks like it will be a 2,000 win condition, but a very convincing win regardless. And now let's see if they can 3-0 on this next larger map. It seems like they immediately find the wells in the center, but now a wave of launchers scaring those carriers away, and an early advantage actually going towards Meteor. It seems like, lots of these robots from Crashers not actually doing too much work getting mana, and Meteor is just going to win out on the mana side, even though they did take a hit in that early skirmish.
Yeah, and you also see that some of Meteor's robots are taking advantage of the currents to get to their destination of the middle of the map faster. And that increased movement really helped out with the array combat.
Yeah, definitely. And Meteor actually with a convincing sweep, moving on to the next round. Now we have Waterloo Geese versus Just Woke Up. And once again on compound, no robot. Oh, actually one robot jailed from Waterloo Geese. We'll see if that ends up mattering. It's just one carrier. It seems like, another one jailed. But 2 launchers jailed on blue side, 4 launchers jailed on blue side. What a disaster. But let's see how they, fight out in the middle of the map. It seems like these red launchers all swarming toward this bottom right blue headquarter, and blue not really able to hold a defense. The launchers split between the 2 headquarters aren't really able to group together and muster a counterattack. And now Waterloo Geese dominating the map, but Just Woke Up did capture a few islands. So if Waterloo Geese doesn't place down anchors, it seems like they have 2 now. We'll see if that's enough. Now
Looks like it's
capturing
gonna
much
be enough.
more. Yeah, this is definitely going to be enough. Maybe they'll even win off a tie off the 75% win condition, but looks like it'll be a tie break, and Waterloo Geese winning with more launchers and more anchors.
Yeah, Just Woke Up did try and play some islands to try and defend easier, but they just couldn't overcome the sheer robot advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Just Woke Up's robots last time quite scattered between their two headquarters, while Waterloo Geese moving in as one unified swarm is going to take out that fight. But it seems like this time the outcome is not so clear. Both teams with lots of launchers left. It seems like Waterloo Geese did get the upper hand. Lots of launchers left on very low health, sneaking away with maybe one hit or two hits left in them. And now they're going to start utilizing this launcher advantage to push and take some map control. Just Woke Up really not able to do too much.
Yeah, once again, Just Woke Up tried taking an island to try and defend themselves, but it ended up being too late to really have any effect. And there's no point healing one robot that's in a 1v5.
Yeah, and they do get one island, but it's not going to make a difference. Once Meteor captures that middle one, it will be game.
Once Meteor?
Oh, sorry. Once Waterloo Geese.
Meteor capturing islands
Apologies.
in games you're not even playing anymore.
Yeah. But for now, Just Woke Up capturing those middle wells. Initially, maybe that will lead to a resource advantage. We'll see. But they are ignoring a mono well that's really right next to their headquarter. And this is going to lead to a big mono deficit that's sort of starting to show. Waterloo Geese just living in Just Woke Up's headquarters right now. A little swarm, well, pretty big swarm of launchers just harassing those carriers.
Yeah, Just Woke Up did take some early islands, but their robots actually aren't really next to the islands to take advantage of the healing.
Yeah, I mean, their launchers not really utilizing these islands for combat, and their carriers sort of lost going to the middle wells instead of that well that's right next to them. And now the carriers and amplifiers are just bundled together. It's a little hard to tell what the intention is there, but it seems like the carriers want to be in communication radius, and they're just staying still. Waterloo Geese going to take this at 3-0 and move on to the next round. And now a Camel Case versus CCC++.
That's a cool new programming language.
Yeah, I haven't coded in CCC++ myself, but oh wow, an island
It's
captured
super early,
already. That's a
actually.
very early island, but we've seen that, you know, camping your own headquarters and just turtling isn't a very effective strategy on this map. And it seems like Camel Case once again just going to rush in and capture that top right headquarter.
Yeah, but CC++ does have a lot of units on the bottom right corner of the map. We'll see if they manage to like launch a coordinated defense using the island for healing.
Yeah, they're still holding on to a couple launchers, but now Camel Case can trade 10 launchers for one and still come out on top. It looks like just from a pure resource advantage.
Yeah, even more than resource advantage, it's just a difference in like prioritization. CC++ has 70, 80 launchers, 80 carriers, I mean, and about 5 launchers.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to be a pure resource advantage and a pure strategy advantage. Camel Case will take the map with the 75% win condition.
Onto Battlecode. Camel Case taking early aggression, but CC++ hanging on decently well.
Yeah, a little easier to defend on this map than the previous one, but it looks like Camel Case is still getting the upper hand. Those launchers rushing into the blue headquarters, lots of them taking damage, but it's not going to matter. They just have so much map control that even a few launchers won't make a difference.
Yeah, a lot of CC++'s units were pretty scattered, while Camel Case just had a more coordinated attack.
Yeah, now 3 islands captured, 4 islands captured. I believe 5 will be the conclusion, or
there's a few carriers with anchors.
yeah, we'll see if they make their way, but 1 island now unmarked, and that will be the game.
Yeah, it seems like it's been pretty difficult for teams to capture the island in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, these early rounds are also just the biggest difference in elos. So we'll see if there's an upset, but for now, very one-sided matches. Camel Case once again taking in a very strong early aggression and wiping out so many robots from CCC++. CCC++ trying to muster defense in the bottom right here, but not able to do so.
Yeah, surprisingly, even on a large map, it took Camel Case like under 200 rounds to completely wipe out CC++.
Yeah, just very efficient pathing macro and micro coming in from Camel Case. And we'll see if this continues to benefit them as they move on to the next round. A very convincing victory, but both of these teams still in the tournament. Dumb Collectors now versus Guh.
Dumb collectors instantly fills up all of their jails.
Yes, truly making sure that those jail cells are filled. Now we'll see a little bit of a fight in the middle. Go actually being one of the teams to contest this middle territories is going to lead to a bit of a close match here, actually. Go has more launchers and a very even amount of mana right now. It's not clear who's going to win, but
takes
Go
control of
immediately
the bottom
rushes.
left.
And yeah, a very coordinated attack, but now it looks like Camel Case is able to defend. Lots of Go's robots just dying to the headquarter.
Yeah, overextending a bit, and the launcher stuck in jail actually contributes to the defense.
Yeah, and immediately punished. We'll call those launchers turrets for now because they just stand still and defend their headquarter. But now there you have lost one of their headquarters. They still do have a chance to retake map control off their sheer robots, but now islands being captured. Dumb Collectors looking to close out this match and gonna win on round 2000. Now on to Barcode. Last match very close. We'll see who takes the upper hand here.
Yeah, Dumb Collector seems to be kind of flanking a bit on the sides, while Gus seems to be more concentrated towards the center, but Gus is actually taking a bit more control of the enemy team's headquarters.
Yeah, but Gus certainly Dumb Collectors launching attack, but Gus still holding on. But for now, Dumb Collectors isn't out of it yet. They do have a resource advantage now, and now a big launcher advantage. It seems like a huge swing suddenly occurring, but playing a little too defensive and not able to really get enough resources to their headquarters.
Yeah, and looks like Dumb Collectors is going to take another game. We'll see if they manage to make it a clean sweep.
Yep, and Dumb Collectors now 2-0 up. Gus showing that they can fight back, but still losing these first two matches. We'll see what happens. And Gus... Wow. Unfortunately, it seems like Gus robots running into an issue onto this map. Maybe some logical flaws in the code. Maybe those headquarters just filling up on bytecodes. But it looks like this game 3 will be a sweep from Dumb Collectors, capturing all these islands and ending it swiftly in round 12-25. Actually, a 5-0 sweep, so very clean from Dumb Collectors. And now onto the losers bracket, I believe. The losers bracket round 2, we'll see some teams that lost their first rounds, but are looking to stay in the competition. Losers of these rounds will be wiped out of the international qualifiers, while winners will have a chance to continue on to become finalists, starting with Ge versus Stockholm Syndrome.
We'll see if Ge builds units this time.
Yeah, Ge having some trouble building units last time, but in the cases where they did build units, had a very convincing set versus Dumb Collectors, who coming in is seeded, I believe, 6th or 7th. So pretty strong opponents, but Ge is now actually running into a very back and forth fight in the middle of this map.
Yeah. Stockholm Syndrome actually seems to be doing pretty good at advancing towards the center of the map. Yeah,
but it seems like it's still very close, but Stockholm Syndrome has so much launchers here. Ge really can't fight back with the minimal number of launchers that they have on their own side. It seems like Stockholm Syndrome maybe utilizing these walls a bit better and utilizing some more efficient carrier movement to close out the first game.
Yeah, Gus seems to have like barely any units left, and they're all carriers low on health, so it seems unlikely to be able to do anything with them.
Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome just amassing a huge bundle of robots in the middle of this map. They didn't set down any islands, so maybe this will come to bite them. They did lose in the first round in winners, so maybe this had to do with why they lost. We'll see if Ge's able to. It looks like Ge's just stuck in the bottom right of the map here. Launchers paralyzed on the currents, trying to move forwards, but just getting ejected backwards. Really not racing to the top, as I believe this map is named.
Stockholm Syndrome seems to have a bit more launchers. They actually have 15 more launchers right now. Yeah,
but Stockholm Syndrome just doing little circles with their launchers. They do have a huge resource and robot advantage, but for now, they're not really pushing this. And if Ge just captures an island, they might just close out this game on a tiebreak, since it looks like Stockholm Syndrome certainly doesn't look like they want to capture islands. Both teams really just amassing huge bundles of robots and not able to reach the top of this map, getting stuck on these currents, getting stuck on the clouds.
And I think Ge actually won off of a mana tiebreak.
Yeah, and Ge just winning off a mana tiebreak, even though Stockholm Syndrome, big resource advantage for the majority of this map, is not able to push it. Now on to, I think it's like River.
Yeah, this map is pretty open, but as we saw last game, both teams seem to be kind of struggling navigating the currents.
Yeah, certainly seems like it. But for now, Stockholm Syndrome has a huge advantage in the middle of this map, dominating all of this land. Maybe they'll be able to sneak away some islands, but we have seen that they're not particularly prone to capturing islands. You know, if they actually set down 3 anchors right now, they could win. They have control of 3 islands, but for now, good camping these clouds and actually going to survive and barely hold on.
Yeah, it seems neither team has any anchors built, at least none that I see. So it looks like they're going to be focusing on combat, and we're going to see another mana.
Yeah,
tie
certainly. It seems like if they just stock up on mana, they might just win off the mana tiebreak. Certainly, neither side will be capturing these islands for now, but it seems like Stockholm Syndrome for now has the upper hand in this fight.
Yeah.
Lots of launchers actually just sitting behind that wall and sort of zapping a robot every once in a while.
Both teams seem to be pretty even in mana, but it looks like Stockholm Syndrome is starting to take a bit of a lead right now. Yeah, it looks like they do just have more units overall.
But once again, starting to cluster lots of their robots. That headquarter physically can't spawn robots if robots are so clustered and carriers can't deliver resources. Maybe this is going to result in a loss, but for now they have so much more mana. And it will be our 2,000 round tiebreak, making a little bit of a resurgence at the end of the map. But Stockholm Syndrome going to win off the tiebreak. Now onto a tiny map, Time's Up.
If God does lose this round, they will be eliminated from the tournament. So we'll see if they manage to bring it back.
But God taking control of the top side map very early, but those launchers running into their deaths on the headquarter. Meanwhile, Stockholm Syndrome has the opposite happening to them at the bottom side, taking control of the bottom side of this map. But once again, launchers running into this headquarters, lots of damage being done. But Stockholm Syndrome has control of that center mana well at the top, and it seems like that's going to make a huge difference if they can get the mana back.
Yeah, it seems Stockholm Syndrome is once again employing the get all of your units stuck in one bundle and stop moving strategy.
I mean, certainly effective if it's just going to be a mana tiebreak. Just might be better to stock up on resources. And it will be a victory from Go for taking control of the top side and getting enough mana back. Now onto a game 5. Winner of this will advance. Loser will drop out of the international tourney. Stockholm Syndrome is has a very early rush of launchers at the top of the map.
Yeah, but you're not actually going back down to attack Go's headquarters.
Yeah, those launchers just sleeper agents, not doing anything at the current moment. But if Go does try to walk up, they will be zapped by 4 launchers. Go has a lot of carriers, and they are starting to get stuck on each other. Meanwhile, Stockholm Syndrome really utilizing the majority of this map and now going to just wipe out Go's headquarters. And looks like Stockholm Syndrome will be advancing unless something magical happens.
Yeah, there's a huge difference in strategy there. We've got having like 50 carriers and 3 launchers just getting decimated by Stockholm Syndrome's launcher.
Yeah, and a close set actually. Stockholm Syndrome winning 3-2, but that last set actually down to 100 mana on the tiebreak. If Go just stocked up a tiny bit more, they would have just won. Now we have CCC++ making a resurgence on island hopping versus
taking 2 islands early on. We'll see if they're going to try and capture some more islands in the middle for an early anchor rush strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like CCC++ might just immediately grab onto islands. This map has 8 islands, so 6 is enough to win. They have control of more than that, obviously, now. And launchers just flooding this map is so fast. I didn't actually catch what happened, but CCC++ just so much more resources.
Yeah, size doesn't matter. Just concentrating on the top right corner of the map and letting CC++ gain map control.
And now race to the top and immediately island captured, but size doesn't matter. Just getting stuck at the bottom. This looks like they might end up just crowding their headquarters if no robots can find their way out. Both teams actually struggling with these currents quite a bit.
Yeah, well, CC++ seems to be taking an early advantage in pathfinding, getting just a lot of launchers over to the top of the map.
Yeah, and that's a massive amount of launchers going to wreak havoc if they approach, although they will get whisked in by those currents if they aren't careful. But, you know, size doesn't matter, has just too many carriers and too few launchers in that distribution, but they are holding a defense, and now both teams starting to get stuck. And CCC++ winning off the island tiebreak, it seems, although...
I think both teams are not. And then CC++ won.
Winning on the mana tiebreak, yes. Now on to river. We've seen whoever takes control of the middle and is able to utilize this effectively, taking control of the game. for now, one island captured. If CCC++ actually just sneaks in 2 anchors right now, they will win, and they certainly have the resources and capital to do so.
Yeah, I think they have a strategy of just capturing one island at the beginning of a game to be able to defend their headquarters at least.
Yeah, but those islands in that island right there are very far from the headquarters, but going to be very useful in a tiebreak if they aren't able to find these other islands. For now, they are dominating this map. Seems like size doesn't matter, just sticking all of their launchers into the top right corner and not really doing very much with them. So CCC++ in a clean sweep 3-0 will be advancing to the next set or to the next round.
Yeah, they actually focused a lot on amplifiers. They're building 15 amplifiers, which seems a bit overkill.
Yeah, certainly, but we'll see if that has an impact in the next few matches. Now on to Just Woke Up versus Diedro's squad.
Just Woke Up taking an early offensive in the middle of the map, but Diedro's squad seems pretty united in defending.
But suddenly a wave of launchers, a little group actually, just causing so much havoc on those carriers that can't defend themselves sufficiently. And now Just Woke Up has complete map control.
Yeah, Diedro's squad got an early island, but once again, the robots didn't take advantage of it to heal themselves. And because of that, they'll lose early fights.
Seems like their headquarters aren't spawning anything, but 75% win condition will be the end of the first game. Now moving on to race to the top, we'll see if these teams can navigate the difficult pathfinding to the top. But for now, it seems like both teams actually doing quite well. Diedro's squad capturing an island and navigating these clouds pretty well. Just Woke Up getting a little stuck on themselves at the bottom.
Just Woke Up did capture one of the islands.
Oh, wow. Actually captured such a swift victory. Wow. Yeah, Diedro's squad just not focusing on, protecting that last island, going to lose so quickly to Just Woke Up.
Yeah, Just Woke Up seemed like they were getting stuck there, but they quickly managed to get 2 carriers to the top of the mountain and capture challenges.
Yeah, I think there's just one carrier there, that white. Oh, actually, Diedro's squad with the early island once more, but Just Woke Up has so many launchers there. It seems like this is just going to be a resource advantage. And now 2 islands captured, and that's the third. That will be a swift victory for Just Woke Up, capturing 3 islands so quickly in 2 of these last games. Congratulations to him advancing to the next round.
Now you have the Crashers versus Matfis.
Yeah. We'll see how these teams do in the losers bracket now. It seems like they are getting a little stuck on the currents very early on. But Crashers running some launchers into a pretty formidable defense. Seems like they did more damage than they received. So that's going to become a huge advantage. And now they just have complete map control. A little group of launchers from Matfis just swarming around and wiping out a few launchers from Crashers. But Crashers has too many resources to work with right now.
Matfis does have a lot of launchers that were defending their base, but they ended up sending all of them to die. And then we'll see if Matfis manages to defend. They have 1 island, but Crashers actually has captured 2 islands right now. So
yeah, it's actually 3. They have that one around their headquarters, although that headquarters can't spawn robots anymore. So that will be the first game going to the Crashers. Now onto the second game. We'll see if we can pathfind. I believe Crashers running into some issues. Those launchers trying to ignore the currents, but now just becoming new walls, I suppose. But a few friends pushing them up, helping them out. Meanwhile, Mac is really struggling. Those launchers are just crowding around the headquarters and making sure no carriers are allowed near it, which doesn't seem to be helping very much. All of their resources just instantly lost as a result.
Yeah, Matfis does place 1 anchor down, so we'll see if Crashers has
Crashers does have 1 anchor, so this will probably be the victory on game 2. But Matfis, looked promising for half a second, but then all of their launchers just making sure no carriers can get nearby. The headquarters in the corner doing a number on them. Now into River. Once again, these headquarters are a little boxed in, so if Matfis encounters the same issue, which they immediately are doing on the right side here, this might be fatal. And it seems like this may be the case. They just have so fewer resources because so few carriers can make it back to their headquarters.
Yeah, Crashers does seem to be taking early control of the center of the map, while Matfis seems to be concentrating on the clouds. We'll see if they're able to sneak a win using the clouds, but Crashers has a lot of robots right now.
Yeah, and any robots trying to sneak back into those headquarters instantly evaporated from by Crashers, and now Crashers just has everything captured, and they don't have any islands captured yet. Now they have one, so that won't be a tiebreak victory. It will go to Crashers 3-0, and they will be advancing to the next round in the losers bracket. Now on to the next round, Random Forest versus Mixu Rats.
Mixie Rat seems to be taking a bit slower approach, focusing on defending early on.
Yeah, Random Forest very aggressively launching an attack, although none of those launchers finding anything to strike. It looks like Mixie Rats just didn't find the mono well in the middle, and this is going to be so fatal. They have 5 launchers to 44. It's just going to be a pure resource advantage. Mixie Rats failing to explore a lot of this map, but they have captured 2 islands, and jog my memory, I think Random Forest is one of the teams that we saw didn't really capture any islands, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we'll see if Random Forest manages to capture any islands and take this game.
Yeah, I mean, Random Forest is so dominant in the combat and early exploration in this match, but they just aren't capturing islands. And if they don't get anything for another 600 rounds, they finally capture 3. So this will be a victory for Random Forest. A little close for a second there, but they do end up capturing these islands, and it will be a 75% win condition for them.
We'll see Random Forest once again uses better pathfinding exploration to get to the top of the map quickly.
And Mixie Rats not spawning anything for the first few rounds. Perhaps this won't be fatal yet, but Random Forest is actually pathfinding around these currents quite well. A few carriers now just stealing resources. Mixie Rats just hasn't found these wells and just hasn't found a way to them really. You know, those launchers becoming walls and making pathfinding so difficult for the carriers. And it looks like Random Forest just has so many more resources to work with, 440 mana to 50 and 49 launchers to 2. If Random Forest doesn't win this, it's probably going to be because they don't capture islands. They're too crowded around their base, actually. It is a very real possibility. It's very hard for them to really navigate with so many robots clustered up. And Mixie Rats did get 1 island down.
It looks like they did capture the bottom right islands. And now they actually managed to find the top 2 islands and win the game from 75% tiebreak.
And now onto River.
Once again, Random Forest managing to actually find the center of the map, while Mixie Rats more concentrated on the clouds, the outskirts. Neither team, Random Forest has a lot more carriers actually. We'll see if they manage to use that to get a large resource advantage. It looks like Mixie Rats like still just not advancing towards the center of the map, and because of that, Random Forest able to advancing, get rid of all of their units.
Yep, and it looks like it will be a 3-0 sweep for Random Forest unless they don't manage to find these islands. But as we've seen, they really start capturing these islands starting from maybe around 1,000 or so. Let's see if the same holds for River. But for now, it looks like they are dominating the entire map, getting so many resources from these wells and launchers just eradicating anything within sight. No islands captured yet, actually, and it is 1,600, another 300 rounds to get an island or they will lose.
Yeah, Random Forest loves making us get worried for them, but they have captured 1 island.
And now they've captured an island. So it will be a victory for Random Forest, but a very close one, it seems. They will be advancing to the next round. Now, Keyboard Crusaders versus Shark.
Keyboard Crusaders and Shark both seem to be taking aggression in the middle, but Shark focusing more on carriers, it seems.
Yeah, Keyboard Crusaders actually winning out on these fights and scattering so many of these carriers. It's going to get a resource advantage now and so much map control. A Shark really not able to defend. Well, they do have the island around their headquarters captured, but it's not going to be enough. And now Keyboard Crusaders wiping their way across the map, making sure nothing is in their way. They have 2 islands captured. Although Shark with their own islands, maybe they'll win off the tiebreak if they don't get enough. Shark, and it seems like Keyboard Crusaders taking out that last island or 2 at the very last few rounds, going to take the first game. But certainly certainly a round where they were worried for a moment there, and both teams struggling with the pathfinding a bit, but they have found the wells.
Shark actually found a mana well pretty early on, while Keyboard Crusaders just found it. So we'll see if Shark's able to get an early launch.
Oh, wow. And just an early island victory, just going to take the set or take the map, now 1-1.
Yeah, we'll see if once again Shark manages to sneak out and a quick anchor victory. This map also only has 4 islands, so they only need to capture 3 islands to win the game.
Yeah, certainly. Shark showing that they can capture these anchors, these islands so quickly. Even on the first map, they captured three islands at some point, even when they're on the back foot. And this might make a vital difference in such an island sparse map like River. For now, they do seem to have control of the center of the map, though. So islands or not, they do have a huge advantage here. Fewer launchers, but just more mana to work with if those mana are invested into launchers. But they do just capture the third island. And Keyboard Crusaders, 37 launchers to 29, still going to lose the game since they aren't defending those islands from Shark. And now Keyboard Crusaders sending in an early wave of launchers to the middle, filtering some of their launchers to the bottom side, but Shark chasing them like sharks.
I have nothing to say about that. This
Well, it
map
seems
does
like
have a lot more islands, so it'll be a bit more difficult for
but
Shark to
2
get
islands
an
captured
early island
already.
victory.
Now there's an early fight, although lots of those robots at the top are carriers. So really just not able to hit each other, but just walking into each other and being annoying. Although now both teams, quite a few islands held.
Yeah, Keyboard Crusaders seems to be taking more aggression on the bottom of the map, and Shark needed to advance to the other side of the map if they want to get 75% of the islands.
But now robots covering this whole map. Keyboard Crusaders has 120 launchers and growing. They will just take this first game on round 2000 off a tiebreak.
Now we're on to the new map, Rock. Actually, this is not a new map. We've seen a game on this.
No, we've seen Rock Wall, but certainly lots of teams struggling getting around to each other. But an early fight, Shark actually taking the better of that fight. Those launchers weaving in and out so effectively and getting trades where they certainly shouldn't be getting trades that good for them. But the launcher micro doing so much work. Suddenly, Keyboard Crusaders launching an attack found their way around the map finally. And now a couple launchers filtering in, but Keyboard Crusader is actually a huge mana advantage, going to push this into a launcher advantage, but they still don't know their way to attacking Shark. Maybe Shark can manage to sneak away victory with the islands if they can recover fast enough.
Yeah, Shark does have a lot of islands captured. If Keyboard Crusaders doesn't do the same, then Shark will win off of island tiebreakers.
Yeah, and it looks like this might be the case. Approaching around 2000, Keyboard Crusaders, very few islands captured. Shark still holding on to 2. And Shark going to win off the island tiebreaker on game 5 of the set, going to keep themselves alive in the tourney. Keyboard Crusaders not focusing on the islands enough, but a very nice run through the tourney. Now onto Executioners versus Island, but it's censored for some reason.
Executioners did seem pretty strong in the
last no time. Robots being spawned except for 2 amplifiers. A little concerning.
Although they do have a lot of early anchors.
Oh, I think they might have just spawned a bunch of anchors early on and not had resources for robots. Let's see if this comes to bite them, but they lost so much map control in just those first 20, 30 turns.
Yeah, I had a lot of carriers going towards the center of the map. I mean, a lot of launchers going towards the center of the map and just roaming around each other.
Yeah, and those amplifiers just staying as still as they can. Maybe Executioners like T-Rexes will not be able to see if you don't move. But it seems like they're just going to capture 70% of these islands. Just one more to go, and they finally get that. Executioners taking the first game. Seems like Island, leaving maybe some of that legacy code in our lecture player, I would guess. It seems like they don't spawn robots at the start. Maybe because they spend all their resources on anchors, it seems.
Yeah, they also create an early amplifier, but there's nothing to communicate if you have no other robots.
Yeah, on the other hand, Executioners, lots of robots, but lots of those getting stuck in clouds. So
yeah,
we'll see.
They finally do get one carrier over to the other side. So we'll see if they start being able to find the middle of the map in the 2 islands they need to capture.
Yeah, I mean, if whoever manages to capture these islands might just take the set. Neither of these teams able to find their way over, and Island has discovered these islands. Although it seems like maybe the communication not going too strong. No anchors being set, and now Executioners 1 anchor set. Maybe another is going to sneak through in a second. Actually, an anchor sneaks through, but Island grabs it first and loses off the tiebreak. But a very close game there all of a sudden.
Yeah, Executioners had a ton of carriers with anchors, but just unable to bring those towards the center of the map.
Yeah, now onto River. We'll see how this turns out. Once again, Executioners, there's so much early map control. It's so hard for Island to fight back when they don't have the robots in
Well,
this early
Island's
part.
only
But
needs
two
one
islands,
more
if they can
island.
just sneak away a
I
blitz
see one
win.
carrier.
I
with an
see
anchor.
carriers with anchors.
If
If
it can
that can
find
find
the
its way
island.
over, looks like it might be doing some random movement though. So we'll see if it can sneak away over to one of these islands. But now one island lost. It's looking a little doomed. Executioners not going to let Island sneak away a victory on them today. 3 islands captured. They're the ones to sneak the victory. Congratulations to Executioners for their 3-0 victory and continuing to the next round.
Yeah, but
Now-
Island's definitely showing an interesting approach.
Yeah, an interesting approach. Coconut 9 now versus Stormwind. On to island hopping. We'll see if they hop around these islands, but for now, it seems like it's a launcher rush on both sides. A huge wave of launchers coming in from Coconut 9, actually.
But Stormwind also attacking. Now their launches are going back to defend their base.
Yeah,
actually.
launchers realizing their base is in trouble. Go back, but now
But
a
they
little
give up.
confused. They're doing a bit of a merry-go-round, but finally the base defended. All of these launchers now coming in. Seems like Coconut 9 sending in their own wave, doing so much havoc. That headquarter now guarded, and the bottom one guarded well too. Stormwind does still have a few launchers lurking around and a few sneaking out of that encirclement. But for now, it looks like it's a little doomed. Coconut 9, so many robots across this map, so much map control. One island captured if Stormwind can't make their way out of their base. But now a new wave of launchers coming in. Actually, I think getting killed by carriers is a little quick. But now Coconut 9 sending in their own launchers, taking over so much of that map, making sure in this back and forth that they have the upper hand and instantly grabbing another 4 islands and winning off the tiebreak. Now onto race to the top.
Stormwind seems to be a bit delayed in actually creating robots, while Coconut 9 took no.
Yeah,
time
lots
to
of those
wait.
launchers are stuck. I wonder if they're trying to bug nav to the top without while ignoring the current. Certainly seems like it might be the way, might be so. Although now that they're doing a little bit of dance, a little bit of a circle, not finding their way to the top.
Yeah, they want to send a few launches over, but they're going one at a time and just getting killed.
One
by
island
Coconut 9's
captured now though
huge
on
map.
Coconut 9. If they sneak away 2 other islands, they certainly have the map control to do so. Is that an amplifier just in the cloud?
Yeah.
Okay, but now if they can get 2 more islands from the carriers, I see carriers with anchors are out and about, but they're not able to get to the top. Now
One of
another
them got to the
one,
top.
just one more will be a victory for Coconut 9, but it seems like Stormwind is just stuck in their base. No chance of coming back unless they find their way out. The current's doing so much work for
Yeah,
them.
but Coconut 9 they just have so many launchers. It's difficult to bring the last carrier up.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
captive islands.
honestly, Stormwind, if a single robot makes it out, they'll just get instantly zapped. But Coconut 9 taking the second game and now onto the third one. Coconut 9 immediately wiping out map control in the middle. Stormwind, on the other hand, holding on to this right side of the map.
A lot of Coconut 9's
Are they
units are
stuck in that?
They're at the top left and
Stuck
bottom
in the
right.
river, trying to go against the current is not going well for them. Certainly, the robots stuck on both the bottom right and the top left, and not able to find their way to Stormwind. But in the meanwhile, they still do have dominion of the center, even with those robots stuck. Stormwind has so much mana that they're sitting on, though. If they're able to get those back to the headquarters and invest in some launchers, it will be such a formidable offensive force. And it seems like they've started to do so. So many launchers and carriers rushing to the middle, but now Coconut 9 finding their way out of that top left of the map, a few residual launchers sneaking out, and so much work being done by those launchers. They have 65 launchers. Stormwind just has so many carriers, but so few launchers, even if they have enough mana. And now Island's being captured by Coconut 9.
Yeah, we'll see if Coconut 9 manages to close out the series. Stormwind just has 0 launches now, and because of that, they're not going to be able to defend if Coconut 9 manages to launch a United defense. Offense.
Yeah, certainly. And they have islands captured. It will just go
Is
to
that an
around
upgraded
2000
mana well?
tiebreak. Is that an upgraded mana well? Where? Oh my God, an upgraded adamantium well. Heavens, what are we seeing? Coconut 9 deciding to upgrade wells. We'll see how this goes. Taking the set 3-0. Now on to round 3 of the, now onto round 3 of the winners. We'll see our winners duke it out and try to stay on top in the winners bracket. The loser is going to be sent into the losers bracket where they'll face so many more matches to get to the same position, but still have a chance. For now, we have lots of strong names here. No BFS please versus Immortal Jellyfish.
Yeah, we'll see how these teams, we're going to be seeing a lot of the same maps right now.
Yeah, I think No BFS please is our top seeded team coming into here. Okay. So looks like we'll be doing losers major first, although this won't, no spoilers have been leaked. I mean, these are just the winners that we glanced at earlier, but now we have our losers majors. We'll see how this turns out. We have Stockholm Syndrome versus CCC++. Starting off, we've seen these two teams a few times. We'll see how they compare across each other, but starting on 35.
Once again, Stockholm Syndrome instantly getting caught in jail while CCC++ taking early islands.
Yeah, and CCC+ with some early aggression, but those launchers aren't really coordinated with their friends in the top right, and it's going to be devastating to lose all of those launchers early. Stockholm Syndrome now has control of the middle, but their carriers are getting stuck on each other. Although islands being captured by CCC++, if Stockholm Syndrome isn't able to grab onto these islands, it will be a tiebreak victory. But it seems like both teams having trouble getting out of that middle, a back and forth combat going on, both teams streaming launchers from both sides, but whoever controls the middle will immediately take control of this victory as they'll split up the opponent into two halves. But for now, it seems like Stockholm Syndrome is getting the early lead, but not able to push in quite yet. So many carriers stuck on both sides and so few launchers being able to get out as a result, but leaving a nice clear path for any launchers that do want to get out so far, but they're not able to push in. CCC++ holding such a strong defense, and they do have islands captured. It looks like it will be a victory for CCC++, even though they have fewer launchers. They have 15 launchers to 69, wow. But more islands captured will be the win condition. Now onto Barcode. We'll see how these teams duke it out on such a small map.
Yeah, we'll see if once again CC++ goes for an early island. We saw last game, it actually helped a lot in their defense.
Yeah, helping so much on this defense last game. Stockholm Syndrome rushing in little groups of launchers at a time, and CCC++ with a little crowd of launchers just instantly defending and getting healed up by the island as they wait, doing so much work for them. And now it looks like CCC++ this time is the one with map control. Stockholm Syndrome not able to get to his middle wells, but I don't think CCC++ has found them. Now they have, and they're getting a lot of resources from it.
Yeah, it seems that this time CCC++ doesn't go for an early island, and instead it goes for the augments. It seems like they have an adaptable strategy for different map sizes, and it's paying off for them right now.
Yeah, either map sizes or the distance of the island to the headquarters, perhaps. It's hard to tell, but maybe we'll see this come into play in the next match. Actually, one launcher from Stockholm Syndrome doing so much work for a moment, but they're just so far down on resources. It looks so difficult for them to even make it out of their base and to that mono well. And CCC++ is just slowly closing out this circle and making sure Stockholm Syndrome can't get anywhere.
They have no islands.
Yeah, no islands, however, and they have less mana. Whoever makes the it's close.
So close.
And CCC++ on the adamantium tiebreak because they both have 90 mana.
I think this is the first time we've ever seen a mana tie.
Yeah, and they win by 31 adamantium too. That's like one carrier, I think. Such a close game, but CCC++ takes it. And now onto a new map, Grapes.
Yeah, Grapes looks a bit maze-like in the center of the map. It's going to be difficult for teams to navigate around that.
Yeah, certainly. But it looks like Stockholm Syndrome is streaming across this map and exploring so much of it. They've explored the four corners and now they have one left to explore. That is the defense of CCC++. And now Stockholm Syndrome with so many robots holding a strong defense on these clouds. Any robot that's approaching being zapped. But I don't think they capture islands, and CCC++ has one island. If Stockholm Syndrome is able to take control of this map, they have to capture an island or they will just lose. Launchers doing circles won't do them any good if they don't capture anything here.
Yeah, the one island CCC++ captured at the beginning of the map wasn't enough to defend properly, but if Stockholm Syndrome doesn't do anything in the last 3 rounds, CCC++ is just going to win off of that.
Yeah, and Stockholm Syndrome taking really a big lead in the first game and the third, but just not capturing islands is going to be their utter downfall. And CCC++ with such a convincing victory now, going on to the next set of losers. Now Just Woke Up versus the Crashers. We'll see how they manage to get out. Nobody jailed quite yet. So impressive spawning selection from both teams. but it seems like
Crashers takes a lot of an early aggression actually.
yeah, flooding in these launchers, and it seems like it's not very good for them, as now just woke up with their own counterattack, doing so much work, a little group of launchers, but now those launchers overstepping their boundaries, but they have islands captured, 5 islands, 6 islands, 7 islands, and thus that's so much healing for their robots. It seems like even if Crashers gets a few robots, it seems like the remaining ones just heal to full instantly from all of those islands. Although just woke up really stuck in their base on the bottom left there.
Yeah,
You know, those launchers really want to destroy
Attacking
whatever's
one
in that cloud, but there's nothing in that cloud.
yeah, just woke up. Your launchers seem to be moving a bit closer together in the formation, while Crashers just seems to be streaming launchers in one at a time.
Yeah, and it looks like Just Woke Up is going to win off the island tiebreak, but it's not a very decisive victory quite yet. We'll see how this goes into the next game with a smaller map where the islands are a bit easier to find and win off of.
Crash is actually doing pretty well in an early aggression, but just woke up managing to slightly hang on and launch a counterattack.
And now Crashers is looking like they're really not able to do much here. One launcher scattering all of those carriers from the well they were harvesting, maybe going to make a huge difference, as now they're launching their own counterattack. The carriers, having grabbed mana from the wells, have come back to headquarters and now launched everything. But one island controlled from Just Woke Up. But Crashers does have complete map dominion for the moment. Some launchers from Just Woke Up hiding in the
Just woke
clouds.
up had one carrier, one tile away from an island with an anchor, but just not able to capture it somehow.
Yeah, and they're capturing that island quite a bit, and it will be quite beneficial in the tiebreaker if balls Crashers can't get to any islands here. And it seems like they're not able to find these islands, and it's going to be a loss for them.
Yeah, Crash is doing pretty well hanging on and launching a good counterattack, but just woke up focusing on islands and taking the win.
And now into Grapes. Both of these teams with an early fight, those clouds making the fight so short ranged, but Just Woke Up taking the upper hand with better control of these clouds.
Yeah, the Crasher seems to be exploring a bit more of the bottom side of the map. There's actually no resources on that side, so we'll see if that manages to help them in any way, but for now, Just Woke Up focusing on the middle of the map and just a lot more of a concentrated effort.
Yeah, and unless Crashers is able to really launch a counterattack here and defend their headquarters, Just Woke Up will be taking the set 3-0. They do have 2 islands captured, and perhaps they will look to complete the 75% win condition. 3 islands now. This map
has one carrier just going in and out of launcher vision radius on the bottom side.
Yeah, and that carrier doing so much work distracting, but now 2 carriers. Oh, they're actually going to. There's 2 carriers just dancing, not wanting to approach, but now they have their other islands captured. Those 2 launchers from Crashers just so distracted and not able to really defend. That will be Just Woke Up advancing to the next round. And losers, now we have Shark versus Random Forest.
We see that Random Forest seems to spawn a lot more units early on.
Yeah, and certainly taking control of this early middle is going to be vital. Those launchers are doing so much work on the carriers and demolishing the economy of Shark in the top right. Shark does still have strong map control in the bottom right, and those launchers are primed and ready to attack. But we'll see, are they just stuck on the curse or are they waiting for attack? We'll soon see, but now Random Forest launching their own attack, wiping out the top right headquarter and now taking utter map control. Although they haven't captured any islands, and Shark certainly has one captured. Those launchers finally destroyed, but we'll see if Random Forest is really able to navigate to these islands and grab onto them.
Yeah, Random Forest just seemed like Random Forest has captured one island. We'll see if they capture a few more. Looks like once again, Random Forest capturing islands until the very end of the map, hoping that their map control ends up winning the games for them.
Certainly, and this is effective on the first game. Now onto Barcode. We'll see how this turns out.
Yeah, neither team seems to be taking a decisive victory in combat right now. Shark seems to be doing pretty well though.
Yeah, and Shark taking control of this early middle is going to be vital for them. We've seen the one to take control of the middle is generally the one who wins Barcode, but Random Forest launching their own counterattack, those launchers hiding in clouds.
Yeah, Shark seems to have a bit of a launcher advantage and a few islands advantages. They actually managed to capture the islands in the middle.
If they can get to 2 more, they will just, or I think 3 more, they will just close out this game. And Random Forest stuck in their bases, not able to move out. Shark guarding these islands, making sure nobody gets near them. And now they have 4 islands captured, but that last island quickly taken away by Random Forest. Anything that comes out of that cloud is immediately destroyed.
Yeah, and Random Forest is not able to do anything about it. Shark using a lot of the island healing to just take control in the middle and keep it.
Yep, and that will be a victory for Shark. Now onto Grapes. Random Forest maybe taking control of this early greenery. Now looks like they're getting into another fight. Shark taking the low ground here and defending, while Random Forest camping these clouds a little. Although both teams with so many resources, the carriers are now getting back to their headquarters, and these resources will become robots. We'll see who gets the higher hand here. So many carriers from Shark and so few launchers, actually. Random Forest with 30 launchers is going to take over control of the middle now.
I think it was because the adamantium was like pretty accessible in vision. And so Shark took a lot of that adamantium, while Random Forest took the initiative to look for a mana well, and they found it pretty early on.
Yeah, and Random Forest harvesting from the mana well, while Shark harvesting from the adamantium. Certainly going to have a lot of carriers, but not a lot of way to hold on to the rest of the map. Random Forest now showing that they will take this 3rd game, most likely, if they can get an anchor down.
Yeah, we might need to be into like round 1,500 for them to start looking.
But yeah, it seems like Random Forest, their strategy dominating the map with launchers early on and moving islands until the very end once they have complete map control. Now we should see some islands going down 1, 2, 3, and now hopefully a 4th, but maybe not. Lots of robots stuck on each other. Now 4th, and this will be a victory for Random Forest. Now we'll see if Shark can stay in the set, winning this next game. Onto a new map, Repetition. I don't see the repetition here except for the symmetry.
Well, each square of the map is basically its own repetition of the same fight. But the difference is the difference is you can send robots to the center of the map to
and
help out.
Certainly what Shark is doing. So many launchers in that middle cloud, while Random Forest has control of so many of these squares. Shark showing a strong defense in the bottom left and bottom right squares. But now Random Forest pulling all of their launchers together. They have 130 launchers, and I think they'll just win off sheer numbers unless Shark can pull off a defensive miracle.
Yeah, this map, neither team seems to have found the islands on the corners of the map, both of them focusing on other corners.
But now Random Forest is capturing these islands 1 by 1, and it looks like they will just close out. So many carriers from Shark, but those carriers can't fight back. And now Random Forest taking the set 3-1 will be moving on in losers bracket. Congratulations to Shark for getting this far. Now we have the Executioners versus Coconut 9, both very strong opponents as we've seen in past rounds.
Yeah, neither team seems to be taking that much of an offensive. Both teams content to just stay in the corner of the map, farm more resources before attacking.
Yeah, and Coconut 9 has a few carriers in jail. I wonder what they did to get there. Executioners, on the other hand, wants to just surround the cloud and hit it. Both teams struggling a little with this early map design. Seems like a lot of teams that are actually getting stuck in the bottom left on this map, just circling that one cloud.
Yeah, well, the corners are pretty mean on that side of the map. I won't admit that one.
Did he make this map?
Maybe.
Oh, here you know who to go to if you lose on this map.
But the Executioners is advancing steadily towards the center of the map, using their resources to make anchors and take control.
Yeah, and Executioners might actually just win off a 75% win condition. Coconut 9 certainly turtling in their base, but not able to actually take control of the center. Now Executioners putting down anchors 1 by 1. So much of this map controlled, and so many carriers with anchors just waiting to rush in at a moment's notice. 1 island snuck away, 2 islands snuck away, 3, and now maybe we'll see a win condition unless they can't advance. Random Coconut 9 putting up a formidable defense, but it will just be a tiebreak for Executioners winning off the sheer number of islands.
Yeah, Coconut 9 showing how those islands really helped them defend, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, Coconut 9 actually had more launchers there at the end, so they had the combat advantage. They just couldn't find their way out of the base. And now Executioners sneaking into the top side of the map, but not finding the wells is going to be fatal to them if those carriers from Coconut 9 find their way back to their headquarters and drop those off. But Executioners is guarding the middle of the map. So even though Coconut 9 finds both wells and grabs so many resources, those carriers can't find their way back. They have no launcher escorts. And now 2 islands captured from Executioners. Executioners have now found the wells, but their headquarters empty, decrepit, and those Coconut 9 launchers at the bottom zapping anything that gets spawned in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I think Executioners just need 1 or 2 more islands.
Yeah,
They
just
need
one more island will be victory. Even if Coconut 9 has more resources, they can't actually fight back if they don't capture these islands.
Yeah, even if they don't maintain map control, Executioners might win off of the increased place tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, just carriers sneaking through and from. Meanwhile, Coconut 9 just guarding the bottom side of the map, but there's nothing to guard.
Yeah, the Executioners, even despite not having map control,
but Coconut 9 now capturing islands. If it's now 1-3, if Coconut 9 can sneak out these islands, they have so much map control. They will just win off a resource tiebreak. But they only have 1 island captured, while Executioners actively looking to sneak away any islands they can find. 3 islands. Coconut 9 still stuck on their 1. If they can grab onto some of these islands, they will win. But they can't find 2 islands now. With 500 rounds left, they need to find a 3rd or get rid of some of those islands. They need more islands than Executioners.
Executioners up to 4 islands.
Oh, now to 4, but 3. And Coconut 9 now taking control and investing all of these things into anchors. They have 4 islands captured. Executioner needs to get rid of some of these anchors, but it's closing out. 80 rounds left to go. It looks like Coconut 9 will just take the set.
Yeah, Executioners managing to sneak in a lot of islands, and Coconut 9 just pretty slow on it. But
yeah, for a second, Executioners looks like they would have won off the 75% win condition, but Coconut 9 holding on to the islands they do know. And now onto Grapes.
Coconut 9 focusing a lot in the corners of the map, finding nothing. Possibly actually looking for symmetry.
Yeah, maybe looking for symmetry, but while those launchers and carriers looking for symmetry, leaving their headquarters undefended, but now a low defense launch back an amplifier spawned to those launchers, and the launchers immediately destroying it. That carrier is solid snake right there.
That might be copyrighted.
Oh.
Okay,
it is opaque reptile. And now Coconut 9, so many carriers, has so much more resources, now going to turn this resource advantage into a robot advantage. But islands captured from Executioners, Coconut 9 has, what, 5 islands captured, I believe.
Yeah, it seems Coconut 9 is going to take this game pretty handily.
Yeah, and Coconut 9 showing in all the games so far that they are very good at getting this resource and robot advantage. It's just that they can push it into an island advantage too. Executioners, on the other hand, not weak at all in fights and not weak at all in their resource investment, but especially good at sneaking away these islands against Coconut 9. But now into these quadrants of the map. Let's see which quadrants, which teams win. For now, it looks like they're trading different sides of the map. We see on all corners, Executioners content to stay near their headquarters. Is that an upgraded mono wall in the top left? Oh, no, that's not.
Oh,
okay. But Coconut 9, on the other hand, sneaking around on these clouds and capturing all of these islands and going to take the set 3-1. Congratulations to Coconut 9 for advancing, but a very close set from Executioners.
And now we finally get to see no BFS, please. I know we've been waiting for it since last round, since we got a sneak peek.
Yeah, we got a sneak peek at this at the very start last round, but now onto a lot of our very strongly seeded teams. We see so many familiar names here. No BFS, please, versus Immortal Jellyfish will be the first set. On to island hopping. We'll see if they get these islands. But for now, both teams advancing to the center, an early trade, but now no BFS, please, sends in reinforcements and flanks from below, leading to devastation on Immortal Jellyfish. But Immortal Jellyfish launching their own attack on the bottom side of the map, taking away so many robots from those headquarters, and the carriers can't find their way homes, but a carrier finally sneaks in, drops their resources, and now robots being spawned by no BFS, please. A very close set so far, though, both teams with lots of robots. No BFS, please, does have control of the center mono wells and will be getting so much if they can get those mana back to their headquarters. But in a relentless attack from Immortal Jellyfish is making this so difficult. But now a counterattack from no BFS, please. Those wells doing so much work as they have such a launcher advantage all of a sudden. No BFS, please, showing things here. And now striking at the top right headquarter. Carriers left defenseless and trying to flee from the launchers, but those resources will not be getting back to their headquarters. No BFS, please, looks to take the first game, although no islands placed yet.
Yeah, no BFS, please, using random first, the strategy of just taking control of the map pretty early on, focusing on launchers, and then using their map control to take control of islands later.
And it looks like this will probably be a victory for no BFS, please. Although I don't know when they'll start placing down islands.
Yeah, we'll see if they have a round metric like random first seems to have.
Yeah, we can probably speed this round up now. I think this will probably be just a swift victory for no BFS, please, now that they have a few islands down.
Yeah, they have one islands. This actually started capturing islands a lot earlier than random first does. We'll see if that difference in approach is part of the reason why they're a stronger seeded team.
Certainly, and we'll see this first game go to no BFS, please. Now on to the second game. We'll be on a new map, Marsh, looking a little like River, but making a marsh. Lots of walls, lots of clouds. And I wonder, it seems like an early skirmish goes in the favor of no BFS, please. Looks like they just have stronger launcher micro off the bat, but lots of those launchers sending themselves to their deaths into the headquarter.
Yeah.
But these wells haven't been discovered by Immortal Jellyfish while they have been by no BFS, please. No BFS, please. So many resources now streaming in, and from a sheer resource advantage, things look hopeless for Immortal Jellyfish.
Yeah, just like a stronger pathfinding exploration from no BFS, please, meant a pretty quick victory in fights, and we'll see if they manage to find all islands. They're pretty hard to find in this map, actually.
Yeah, and Immortal Jellyfish.
And
the first game quickly on to
racing to this game.
Racing to the top. It looks like no BFS, please, with the BFS in their name, pathfinding quite strongly. Lots of those launchers hitting walls. I really have to question what they. Oh, I guess they are in clouds, so they don't know what they're hitting. But for now, it looks like both teams getting to these wells actually, and we'll see who gets the resource advantage here. It looks like this will be deciding in who wins the game. But no BFS, please, is finding their way to the top. Maybe they'll sneak an island victory, as we've seen a few times on this map.
Yeah, no BFS, please, slowly advancing, but not watching a concentrated attack yet.
Yeah, I mean, both teams actually navigating these resources quite well, and the resources are pretty close. No BFS, please, has a small launcher advantage. Now, finally dumping all their mana into launchers, and they have the map scouted. They know where everything is. Can they push this into an island victory? We'll see. All of those launchers just stuck in the clouds, hitting walls. This might be fatal to them if they don't get any islands. After all, Immortal Jellyfish does have one island captured. We'll see if this Immortal Jellyfish is really immortal. But now they're slowly approaching the top of the map. Both teams starting to reach a confrontation as launchers are ballooning on both sides. No BFS, please. Looks like they have a huge launcher advantage, but Immortal Jellyfish holding on to quite a bit.
They finally do capture one of the islands on the top of the
map. They
might
might actually just grab that third island and go for a victory. If a carrier can find their way up, Immortal Jellyfish isn't defending that island particularly well. A carrier almost making it up, but now Immortal Jellyfish taking that island control. And now both teams have two islands. Immortal Jellyfish has more mana sitting in their bank. If nobody can capture the third island of the other side, it will be a victory for Immortal Jellyfish from the sheer tiebreak. No BFS, please, is now catching up in mana, 100 mana away. Both teams contesting the top side, but getting quite stuck on these currents. Immortal Jellyfish looks so clogged in the bottom right side of this map. No robots really able to find their way around. This might be fatal. An anchor holding carrier found its way to the top for a second, but no BFS, please, has so many launchers just guarding that island.
Yeah, it seems both teams kind of got
and no BFS, please, gets more mana, actually, builds up a better mana advantage. Immortal Jellyfish had a mana advantage, but all of those robots being stuck, it's so hard to get mana back to the headquarters.
Yeah, no BFS, please,
wins.
Wow.
But and a very convincing victory, too.
The last round seemed pretty rough.
Yeah, very close to last round, though. Now Battle Bridge versus Forcefully Drafted Kids. Starting on island hopping, we'll see how these teams do. For now, it looks like both teams rushing to the middle. Actually,
yeah. Battle Bridge seems a lot more united. But
yeah,
now,
flaying from the side, but immediately dismantled by a huge group of reinforcements in the middle. But Battle Bridge is not as ruthless in these attacks. Trade's going so well. Now a back and forth. Forcefully Drafted Kids actually getting the upper hand of that trade.
Yeah, but Battle Bridge had a bit more resource collection going on, and they managed to build more launchers.
Actually, I think Forcefully Drafted Kids has more carriers, right? It looks like control. Yeah, it looks like it's a very close. Now, Forcefully Drafted Kids got their carriers back to headquarters.
Look at how many launchers.
And now so many launchers streaming in.
It looks like first wave drafted kids actually ends up taking control of the map at the end there.
Yeah, Battle Bridge, so many carriers grabbing onto mana from the resources, but just not able to get those resources back in time before the strike. And now forcefully drafted kids taking control of this entire map and winning off a tiebreak. Now onto Marsh.
Yeah, this map, we have seen is how important exploration and pathfinding is on this map.
Yes, so many clouds though. We'll see how these teams are able to navigate these clouds. For now, a quick launcher skirmish off the bat and Battle Bridge gets the upper hand of it, but new launches are coming in. I don't think those launchers know what they're walking into. No communication was relayed.
Yeah, it looks like both teams have finally found the wells that are like most accessible to them.
Yeah, and we'll see who's able to push this mana advantage. For now, it looks like Battle Bridge is holding onto the center of the map, but this won't matter if forcefully drafted kids can push a mana advantage. For now, they do seem to have a mana advantage. They have 14 carries, 15, and an equal amount of mana now streaming in. They have so many more robots, and that number of robots will push them into a victory in the middle side of the map. Now they're breaking off this supply line. Battle Bridge needs to defend the supply line with their life, or this map will be a swift victory for forcefully drafted kids.
Yeah, Battle Bridge is down to 0 launches left off. First wave drafted kids has over 50.
But lots of those launchers just sending themselves into their own demise. Really hard to navigate these clouds with the headquarter in tow, but it seems like it won't matter. Only one headquarter available in this map, and losing those launchers doesn't mean anything when they have complete dominion of all of these wells. Forcefully drafted kids pushing an advantage 2-0. We'll see if they can close it out on this third map. On the meanwhile, we'll see who can pathfind a little bit better. Both teams actually getting quite clawed, but forcefully drafted kids is the one to sneak through the top. Now Battle Bridge has found their way through with those launchers, and that launcher devastating the carrier production. Those carriers simply can't get to the mana well. Every single time they approach, a launcher from Battle Bridge just sneaks in and chases them back to the headquarter. And look how much that has impacted the economy. Battle Bridge has so much more mana, so many more carriers.
Kids has 1 carrier left.
Yeah, and those launchers hiding in the top, but not able to defend their carriers. Those carriers completely, those launchers from forcefully drafted kids early on exploring the upper clouds, but just completely oblivious to what's happening to their supply chain of carriers. And Battle Bridge devastating that economy for forcefully drafted kids. It looks like they want to take this game 3 and make it a game 4, but they need to capture a few more islands. Actually, I think half the robots just deleted.
I think a lot of their robots might have died to the headquarters.
Yeah, maybe, but now robots getting stuck. They do have 2 headquarters captured, and anything coming out of forcefully drafted kids headquarters can't make it out past a few tiles. Looks like Battle Bridge will be taking this third game.
Yeah, they do manage to take all 3 islands that they need to.
Certainly. And now back onto Time's Up. We'll see which team is able to hold on to this hourglass a little bit better. Battle Bridge sneaking in lots of its launchers into the bottom side. Yeah. It looks like that's going to lead to a big launcher and combat offensive on the bottom side.
But they lose control of the top side.
They lose utter control of the top side. And now launchers from the top side as a result streaming in, but Battle Bridge holding a strong defense. Any launcher walking through those currents immediately sent to their doom. Battle Bridge trading the top side of the map for the bottom. And we'll see how this impacts as the economy goes on. For now, forcefully drafted kids has control of 2 mana wells in the middle, but they aren't utilizing them. Those carriers are just farming adamantium, which isn't going to do so much. But Battle Bridge is trapped in that bottom side of the map. Anything's in the top side spawn immediately destroyed, but they do have complete dominion over the bottom.
Yeah, and they are able to send a few units from the bottom to the top.
I mean, forcefully drafted kids is just so mana starved. They can't get to any of those. Oh, and now we see destabilizers coming out, but it looks like it won't matter. Battle Bridge just has such strong control of this map. And now it looks like they will be going to a game 5 in the winners.
Yeah, Battle Bridge seems that they're looking like they're trying to tie it up, and they're able to.
Yeah, and now on a game 5, we see a new map, treasure map, a very small map with only 1 headquarter each. Mana wells shared in the center. Whoever grabs control of the center will grab control of this set and continue in the winner's bracket. This is a vital map and a vital game to play. It seems like for now, both teams dodging around in those clouds, forcefully drafted kids getting the upper hand though. That launcher destroying the carriers, and those carriers not able to get the mana back to Battle Bridge's headquarters. Now Battle Bridge has no launchers, no mana to work with. Every time they get enough mana to spawn a headquarter, to spawn a launcher, they immediately do, but the launcher instantly destroyed. You see, zapped instantly as they step out of the headquarter, and forcefully drafted kids looks like they want to take This game 5, they need to place down one anchor to complete the set, and they will be moving on to the winners. They will be moving on in the winners bracket. If they do so, Battle Bridge will have another chance in the losers bracket. But for now, it looks like Forcefully Drafted Kids will be taking this set.
Yeah, kind of struggling a bit to find the islands to close it out.
Certainly, but still a mana advantage is going to lead to their victory. Congratulations to both teams for such a strong performance in a very close set. Now on to the next set. We have Meteor versus Waterloo Geese, both very strong teams, but we'll see how they match up against each other. A very strong offensive rush from Meteor, clustering those launchers.
Yeah, it seems they're moving in groups of 3, or at least attempting to.
Yeah, certainly, but that group of 3 in the bottom side losing out to a skirmish, but now reinforcements sent. They know where the skirmish where to go. A very back and forth though. Waterloo Geese winning off the top side of the map, but Meteor trading with the bottom. And Waterloo Geese isn't able to push in as an advantage, and now Meteor swarming across his map. Those mono wells in the center, complete control. And now Meteor is going to win, it seems like, off a pure resource advantage.
Yeah, Meteor seeming to take control of the map once again. They looked pretty dominant in their last series. We'll see if they manage to show another dominant performance today.
Yeah, certainly. And it looks like they're already capturing islands, 3 islands captured. Now 4, 5, and 6, that it will be a 75% win condition, and they will take the first game. Now onto Marsh. We'll see how these teams navigate in the clouds. Wow, those carriers moving so quickly, just sweeping across the map and grabbing so much vision, actually stealing away some of the resources. Meteor seems to be struggling to get to that well. You see them trapped, those wells trapped in the corner, but they have found Waterloo Geese's resources, ironically. And now they find their way to that well, and now that they know the path, everything is clear. A carrier finally finds those other 4 wells clustered in the side. Now it looks like Meteor is the first one to find the wells and the first one to take this island in the middle. It looks like they will just win from finding those wells earlier.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese is struggling to navigate through all the clouds and walls.
Yeah, Meteor showing some very strong pathfinding and some very strong exploration early game strategies, and Waterloo Geese not able to keep up. Meteor will look to take this game too. They have so many islands captured, and I believe one more will be the victory.
Yeah, they actually managed to find islands even in the corner of the map through the clouds.
Yeah,
Pretty
quite impressive. But now moving on, we'll see if Waterloo Geese can hold their spot and race to the top. Meteor racing to the top.
Yeah, Meteor actually navigating to the currents pretty well.
Navigating through those currents so swiftly, and look at the havoc those launchers are about to cause. But Waterloo Geese, a strong defense. All of those launchers stuck at the bottom, but as a result, being a strong defense. You could say that they're jailed at the bottom and became turrets.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese, because they didn't advance pretty early on, all of their launches were concentrated in the bottom right corner and able to defend pretty well.
Certainly, but this leaves them so vulnerable to island steals. Meteor, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be looking to capture these islands, but Waterloo Geese, not able to get those carriers back to their headquarters is going to be devastating, but they have a resource advantage, actually. Waterloo Geese with more launchers and more mana for now, but Meteor has the better path, finding the better exploration here, now walking into Waterloo Geese, but any launchers going in immediately destroyed. Waterloo Geese has triple the launchers of Meteor and an equal amount of mana, but Meteor now capturing 1 island. If they can sneak away those other 2, and they certainly have the map control to do so, they will take this set. We'll see if they can do so. 2 islands captured. Maybe if a third sneaks through. I see one coming through. It's finding its way there. If they can find it, and if Waterloo Geese can't defend that island in time, they will just lose. Waterloo Geese trying to grab onto the island, but not able to.
And finally, Meteor takes it. Meteor just pushing Waterloo Geese back despite their
Meteor with so much map control, but just so fewer resources and robots, still taking the victory just by sneaking away. And actually a 5-0 sweep. Meteor with such a strong performance, but certainly showing vulnerability in that match. Now on to Camel Case versus Dumb Collectors. Camel Case, same with last year, seems to be ridden with not Camel Case. Dumb Collectors, on the other hand, also not ridden in Camel Case. Maybe this will lead to their advantage, but Camel Case is actually grabbing onto Dumb Collectors wells, and Dumb Collector, no resources to speak of. Even if they have that formidable launcher force in the bottom, they just don't have the resources to back it up. Yeah, their supply lines completely cut off. No carriers left at home and no wells left to control. Camel Case just doing little bits of loops around these headquarters, and anything that steps out immediately destroyed. Dumb Collectors has a force, but that force isn't being told to go defend its home. So they do have such strong control, but they can't do anything with these launchers.
Yeah, dumb collectors just have a lot of launchers like taking control of Camel Case's headquarters.
Yeah, and
but-
ironically, Camel Case sneaking away. Actually, it seems like they've traded sides all of a sudden. Dumb Collectors just guarding Camel Case's headquarters, and Camel Case in turn guarding Dumb Collectors. But Camel Case has 2 islands down, while Dumb Collectors can't get a single robot out. Dumb Collectors maybe not guarding that top headquarter very efficiently, as launchers are sneaking through occasionally, but now a better defense coming in. Dumb Collectors defending this all of a sudden, and Camel Case is the one to win off a tiebreak. A very close game. Camel Case getting an early lead, but Dumb Collectors just making sure nothing can get out. And Camel Case just going to barely sneak away that island victory off the skin of their teeth. But now on to Marsh. We'll see who captures these wells first. It seems like both teams have found, but a force of launchers from Camel Case wreaking havoc amongst that headquarter. They may have died, but actually now trading sides. Dumb Collectors once again launching an attack on the headquarters. These teams seem to just have a propensity for abandoning their headquarters and attacking the enemies. A very offensive strategy for both teams, but we'll see if they pay off. These teams are both very strong, and now we see them streaming to each other's sides. Dumb Collectors taking a route on the left side, while Camel Case taking a route on the right. Both teams found mana wells, but it seems like Dumb Collectors might have the stronger economy here. They have 20 launchers, and now they're dominating Camel Case's headquarters. Camel Case able to attack the headquarters of Dumb Collectors, but not properly cutting off the supply chain of those carriers, while Dumb Collectors, with a much more effective offense, is able to both attack and surround the headquarters while making sure no resources get back, going to push that advantage in offense into a resource advantage and take the second game. No island victory here for Camel Case.
Yeah, now we're going to test both their pathfinding. Camel Case seeming to do pretty well, but we'll see if they manage to get out of the clouds. Both teams look like they're going to confront and have a confrontation in the middle.
Yeah, Race to the Top is a much harder map to trade sides on, like we've seen in the previous two. It's a smaller map for one, but also they have to fight in the middle if they want to get past each other. For now, it seems like Camel Case wants to stay at home and stay on this left side. Dumb Collectors is taking map control, and both teams are navigating these currents so well. They're utilizing them to get the resources back quicker. For now, Dumb Collectors has a resource advantage, but suddenly in a cash-in, Camel Case all of a sudden taking the lead. Now both teams getting into a fight. Dumb Collectors has control of mid lane of the has control of the middle of the map. And if Camel Case can sneak in some anchors, they will win. Both teams are free. Camel Case has 2 anchors covered. Dumb Collectors has control of the third one for now, but it's easy for a single carrier to just sneak in. If Dumb Collectors can't defend that last island well enough, they will lose off the tiebreak. This game is so close. Both teams are such strong, formidable offensive forces. Now Camel Case has the advantage and grabs onto that third island. An incredibly close third game and an incredibly close set. Now onto game 4. We'll see if Dumb Collectors can keep their head in this set and push that strong advantage. This map is actually one that's very easy to trade sides on, and we have seen both teams doing that. For now, Camel Case is taking control.
Of the top of the map. We'll see if they manage to do the same thing on the bottom side of the map.
And it seems like they certainly are. Dumb Collectors having a lot of trouble navigating these clouds and getting the resources back to their headquarters. And it looks like Camel Case will just take a swift victory in this 4th game, not letting Dumb Collectors breathe, just immediately capturing those wells and pushing a resource advantage.
Yeah, I believe Camel Case only needs to capture 2 more islands, maybe 1 more island, and it looks like they're able to capture 75% of the islands.
And Camel Case will be advancing, but that was such a close set. I'm excited to see how Dumb Collectors will continue in the losers bracket and how Camel Case will proceed in the winners. But now we're moving on to the losers minor bracket. And we have some new maps, it seems. We'll see how this looks. 4 games lined up for us. Lots of these teams showing such strong performances. Battle Bridge versus CCC++ first. And we'll see who wins. We're starting on Contraction, a huge map.
Yeah, Battle Bridge seems to take a lot more united offense, trying to take control of the center.
CCC++ gets control of the center and grabs onto a lot of resources. Battle Bridge has a lot of grouped launchers, though, and those launchers are going to be such a formidable force to fight.
Yeah, it looks like they waited until they were in a group of maybe 9 and before advancing together.
I'm curious where they got such an advantage from. It seems like CCC++ maybe invested some mana into anchors, weren't able to find the mana wells very well, and that was devastating with Battle Bridge just capturing so many islands and so many wells. Yeah, and look at that horde. We've seen Battle Bridge with their such coordinated movement. It's incredible. Look at that group of launchers just moving as a single unit. Battlebridge taking the first game. We'll see if CCC++ can hold on to a defense against such a formidable offensive strategy. Now onto Flower.
A very open map.
And a very center-grouped, center-centric set of islands in the middle. Whoever grabs control of the middle islands, which seems like it's Battlebridge, will just win
the game pretty quickly.
Look at Battlebridge's offense. It's incredible to see every single time. They just have such a coordinated group of launchers, those launchers moving as a single unit. And especially on these small maps, this is so effective. We'll see if another team is able to exploit this. But for now, it looks like Battlebridge is going to take 75% of the map. And now onto Soundwave, Battlebridge, quite similar to Battlecode, maybe Soundwave, named after Battlecode will give them an advantage.
But CC++ takes early control of two of the islands. We'll see if they manage to use it to defend. It looks like it's not enough as Battlebridge seems to be taking control of the entire map.
Yeah, if Battlebridge can grab some of these islands, they will just take such a swift victory. Lots of those launchers this time are actually stuck though. And now one island captured, one island removed. It looks like Battlebridge will be taking this game 3 and closing out the set in such surgical manner.
Yeah, Battlebridge seems like
they're a 5-0 sweep. Congratulations to CC++ for getting this far. And congratulations to Battlebridge for moving on in the losers bracket. Now Immortal Jellyfish versus Just Woke Up. We'll see these teams immediately fight for the center. Those carriers sharing the wells, actually. It seems like they've achieved peace, but only for a second. Immortal Jellyfish breaking the truce and striking with its own group of launchers. Now surrounding that bottom left headquarter. It's still Immortal Just Woke Up, however, has an island, has 2 islands, but no robots to back those islands up. Although they still do have control. Now a stream of launchers breaking the formation of those carriers and destroying the economy of Just Woke Up. Just Woke Up looks like they will be losing this first game. And Immortal Jellyfish in such convincing fashion, grabbing this first game with a 75% win condition. Onto Flower, both of these teams, it seems like, eager to capture islands. We'll see if this plays a role in this very small map.
Yeah, Just Woke Up seems to be taking a bit of an early lead and controlling the center. We'll see if Immortal Jellyfish is able to do anything about it.
And it looks like Just Woke Up has 2 islands captured. It
would have
been a third, but
islands.
Immortal Jellyfish striking back.
Both teams fighting for the islands in the middle. And
now a swift victory for Immortal Jellyfish. Just Woke Up nearly stole it. If they waited another 30 turns, they would have just won the game. But Immortal Jellyfish striking back and immediately capturing those islands. Now onto Soundwave. We'll see if Just Woke Up can muster a defense here. It seems like they are holding a strong defense. Lots of those carriers, lots of those amplifiers being struck across the wall. And one launcher just camping the side of the wall. I wonder what it's doing.
Yeah, both teams seem to be doing pretty well actually finding these resources.
But it seems like Immortal Jellyfish pushing a huge launcher advantage. I wonder where that came from. It seems like they're the ones who utilize a stronger carrier micro, perhaps.
Yeah, Just Woke Up does have a few islands. Like
Just Woke Up has 4 islands for a second. If it got one more, actually, they would have won there, I believe.
I'm not sure how many islands are on this map. It looks like
there's 8. Like there's 8. Okay, so
they would
have been another one after that. But now Immortal Jellyfish with their resource advantage, just so covering this map and launchers, and Immortal Jellyfish taking this set so dominantly in a 5-0 sweep.
Both teams so far have been pretty dominant.
Yeah, but both teams very strong. Congratulations to both teams this year for getting this far. But now we have Dumb Collectors versus Random Forest. So far, an incredible showing from all of our teams and such close matches, actually. Even in matches, even in sets where it's been 3-0, 5-0, we've had such close matches between the teams, islands going back and forth. And it seems like between these 2 teams, we're getting such a contested offense from Dumb Collectors. But that Dumb Collectors offense is pushing into a resource advantage. They have control of those middle wells. And now they have control of all of these resources on the map. 70, 80 launchers now covering this map in red. And now Random Forest has nowhere to go.
Yeah, Dumb Collectors just launching 2 separate attacks on each side of the map, taking control of both of Random Forest's headquarters simultaneously.
Now winning off 75% onto Flower, a very swift map we've seen, often ending as soon as one team can sneak in 3 launchers, and Random Forest is the first to strike in the center. But Dumb Collectors on the flank, taking care of so many of these robots on the side, but now defense coming back from Random Forest. But as the defense comes back, they are once again flanked from the middle this time from Dumb Collectors. And now Dumb Collectors, all they need to do is move a few anchors onto those islands. It looks like they are just going to play it safe and surround all of these robots. And now it looks like it will be a second game victory from Dumb Collectors. But a very contested early offense for a moment there.
Yeah, it seems Dumb Collectors doesn't have any amplifiers, so those launchers can't actually communicate the location of those islands.
Actually,
it took them a while
they
to
just
build
spawned them. Yeah. But now 75% win. They're going to get a victory on the second game. Now onto a third game. We'll see how they perform on, I believe, the next map is Soundwave.
Yeah, we'll see if once again we're gonna have another 3-0.
And Dumb Collectors with such an offensive strategy. Look at them already attacking in the first 30 rounds of the game, but Random Forest with their own force striking back, showing they're no force to be reckoned. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Dumb Collectors seems to have a pretty good defense going on, but you're not using it to attack very much.
And very close on the resources here. Both teams with so many launchers, but having trouble striking at the supply lines. It looks like Dumb Collectors is the first one to find those wells on the side, though, and really utilize them. But both teams with so many resources, it's becoming contested. But Dumb Collectors now investing more in their carries, investing more in their mana production is starting to balloon and get away with this launcher advantage. 45 launchers to 10. Random Forest needs to hold on to a defense as well as they can.
Yeah, but it looks like Random Forest's defense has been just depleted.
Yeah, and Random Forest is able to hold a strong defense early on, and it looks even and at a deadlock for a moment there. But Dumb Collectors with the stronger carrier micro and the stronger resource distribution will take the set 3-0. And a very close set, but congratulations to both teams for getting to this far. Yeah. And very impressive from both teams. So Dumb Collectors will be moving on in the losers bracket. Now Waterloo Geese versus Coconut 9 onto Contraction. We'll see how these teams perform. Contraction, a map that we've really seen centers around control of the middle. We'll see. It seems like Coconut 9 is the first one to get there.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese is pretty scattered.
But they have a lot of launchers, and those launchers look quite formidable. Coconut 9 is actually the one to first strike at the headquarters, but we see a trade here. Waterloo Geese attacking the bottom right and doing so much work on that bottom side.
Yeah, but Coconut 9
defends
top right.
Yeah, and now Waterloo Geese has only the top left to their name. They need to keep on and hold on to the headquarters if they want to survive in this map. But now a wave of launchers from Coconut 9 is going to eradicate those carriers, and it looks all but hopeless.
No, it looks like Coconut 9 is going to take game 1. And based off of the rest of the games in this round, if this trend continues, Coconut 9 is going to win 3-0.
Yeah, certainly. We'll see how this continues. If Coconut 9 can grab onto the middle here, they'll certainly take a swift victory if they get the anchors down. But it looks like a swift skirmish in the middle, and Coconut 9 loses the skirmish, maybe overextends a few launchers and attack some carriers when they should be striking back. Now those launchers doing so much work on those carriers, but the carriers surviving at 1 health. Those carriers are somehow still alive.
Yeah, those carriers need to be defending themselves and you're calling for launchers to help.
But all of a sudden they don't send reinforcements, and those carriers, you know, they survived for so long. They had so many resources on them, but they couldn't get back to the base. And now Waterloo Geese will be the one to take over this second map.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese breaking a trend and tying it up.
Instantly capturing all 3 islands, tying it up and showing that they can take control of the center. Now, Soundwave, a map that seems to focus a lot on getting the better economy, as we've seen from the previous few games. It looks like both teams have discovered the wells, but Waterloo Geese is the one to get more carriers on that upper well. Some launchers from Coconut 9 may be going to harass those carriers a little and make sure that they can't get the mana so easily. We'll see if Coconut 9 can push an offense into this side.
Yeah, it looks Coconut like 9 is kind of flanking on the left side of the map, but we'll see if they're able to do anything with it.
Yeah, Coconut 9, a strong flank and cutting off the supply line now. Waterloo Geese has a strong defense, but the defense is stuck in the middle. Nothing communicating that they need to defend the headquarter back home, and that's going to be fatal. Coconut 9 now has control of one mana well, the center mana well, while Waterloo Geese has no way of getting back there. Waterloo Geese now going to slowly lose out on resources. And Coconut 9, showing a strong method of pushing away these carriers from the well, going to capture 75% of the islands.
Yeah, although not finding the islands on the right side of the map.
Yeah, certainly not. Now onto the fourth game, River. We're back here. It seems like Coconut 9 and Waterloo Geese are striking each other over this wall. For now, it looks like Coconut 9 seems to be getting the upper hand, but
Coconut 9 getting stuck in a top left and bottom right again.
yeah, certainly. But Waterloo Geese hasn't found their way to the middle of the map. Now a wave of launchers is finding their way in. And now Waterloo Geese, Coconut 9 has so many launchers, but they're just stuck and nowhere to be active. Those launchers could be dead weight for as far as they're concerned, as they're not doing anything. Now Waterloo Geese, with more resources, will take over the center of the map. Coconut 9 certainly had an advantage for a moment there, but now
a lot of their resources are just going to waste in the corners of the map.
Yeah, so many resources going to waste and so many offensive robots going to waste, not able to actually defend their carriers or their bases. Now Waterloo Geese is expanding slowly across the map, but Coconut 9 still does have a little bit of a bite in them in that top left. If those, okay, looks like it froze for a moment, but now we're slowly getting a few islands in.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese ends up taking 3 of the islands, while Coconut 9 is just distracted.
And Waterloo Geese tying it up 2-2. Now onto a new map. Oh, no, sorry, not a new map. Sakura. We have Coconut 9 and Waterloo Geese fighting to stay in. This is in the losers bracket, so winners will move on and have a chance at international at being a finalist, while the loser will go home.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese seems to be taking control of the center of the map, which is very important on a map like this.
Certainly, but it looks like Coconut 9, so many carriers stuck in the bottom. Coconut 9 with a fatal mistake. I don't know what's happening with those robots, but they're losing so much map control stuck down there. Now resources lost and bases lost. It seems like those carriers have finally found their way out, but Waterloo Geese in the meanwhile has so many launchers.
Yeah, like there's actually no resources in the bottom right corner of the map, so I'm not sure what those robots are trying to do.
Yeah, it looks like they might be trying to pathfind,
pushing them back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe those robots stuck on each other, I would have to guess. But now Waterloo Geese looking to move on and make sure that they don't get knocked out. Coconut 9 with an impressive performance, but finally being knocked out by Waterloo Geese. Congratulations to both teams for making it this far, and congratulations to Waterloo Geese for moving on to the next round. Now on to our round 3 losers major. We'll see some teams. We see Battle Bridge, Dumb Collectors, Waterloo Geese, and Immortal Jellyfish. Teams all so strong from the winner's bracket, finally being knocked down here. And I believe the winner of this set will go on. Oh, sorry, no. The winner of next set after this round will go on to move on to the bracket, but they do need to win this game to stay in. But starting on island hopping, a familiar map.
Yeah,
we'll see how these two teams navigate against each other.
Both teams won their last set 5-0, so we'll see which of these teams ends up being stronger this time.
Certainly, and it looks like Battle Bridge gets the initial upper hand in the bottom side of the map, but they're being traded for on the top side. But now those launchers that were attacking in the top need to go home and defend. Battle Bridge scattering for a second. It looks like they want to defend their base more so than attacking.
Yeah, Battle Bridge actually has a very strong united offense going on top right. We'll see if.
Yeah, we've seen Battle Bridge with their strategy of just keeping all their robots in a swarm. It seems like what they do is they keep all the launchers together and command them to move to locations in swarms. Such an effective strategy as we've seen. But we'll see if this continues to be effective moving on.
Yeah, I believe they just need one more island to capture. We'll see if they're able to do it soon, and they aren't.
Look at that island, those robots moving as such a coordinated unit. It looks so impressive. We'll see if this actually is such an effective strat, though. We'll see. It seems like this map really oriented around who grabs onto the middle and drops a few anchors. Both of these teams, strong enough to pathfind their way to the wells and get back. So that's not a concern to them, and certainly strong enough to get those launchers to the top. But now it seems like Battle Bridge will be the first there, but Immortal Jellyfish with their own group of launchers, those launchers stuck bug nabbing on some currents, it seems, really struggling to make it. Now Battle Bridge just needs to move over and get some anchors to the top to win, but a wave of launchers being sent into Immortal Jellyfish. is a fatal mistake. As
Battlefield
now
seems to be
all these
pushing them
things,
back
it seems to be
successfully.
pushing them back, but also Immortal Jellyfish's launcher is now activated with a purpose. If Battlebridge can get some anchors to those islands, they will win. But if Immortal Jellyfish is able to get some launchers snuck up there, they have a chance at staying in.
Yeah, Mormon Jellyfish just have one carrier of an anchor trying to make its way up there, two carriers of anchors, but they keep getting sent down because
Certainly,
of the currents.
if those anchors are now two anchors.
Oh, they captured both of them.
And wow, Immortal Jellyfish, even though they're on the back foot the whole map, actually sneaking in two anchors and going to take the victory. Such a vital tactic coming into play and taking the second game when they should have lost, really, if Battlebridge put in those anchors. But now onto time's up.
Yeah, we see once again Battlebridge sending a few units down to the bottom of the map.
Although it certainly seems like Battlebridge's strategy of swarming with launchers is so effective on this map. Look at those launchers just swarming together in such a coordinated offense. I'm a little curious what will happen if Battlebridge gets put on a map like Repetition, where the launchers really are cut off from each other, but we'll see. For now, Battlebridge really with a strong offense in the bottom, but not able to dissuade the carriers on the top side. And Immortal Jellyfish has so much mana coming back to their headquarters for now.
Yeah, but it seems roughly even on the top side of the map. Battlebridge is capturing one island, so
Certainly, Battlebridge
bit of a
starting to take
defensive
some
advantage.
islands, but not putting down islands in the bottom side quite yet.
I think they
Immortal
do have one.
Jellyfish, no launchers to show, and Battlebridge, so many launchers will just push this advantage into a victory. If they
yeah,
can get a few
Battlebridge
more
eventually
anchors.
just puts the Mortal Jellyfish back in the top right side of the map, and because of that, once again showing off Elixir.
And now I saw destabilizers for a second, but seems like time is up for Immortal Jellyfish. Battlebridge is taking away the victory and running away with it here. It will be a victory for Battlebridge. And now back onto Rockwall. We'll see which team can climb to the top first. But first, it seems to be Battlebridge sending in one robot, but Immortal Jellyfish with a coordinated group. Battlebridge's launchers seem to be getting stuck, or maybe they're just holding a defense. It's difficult to tell, but both teams are very effectively getting this mana. Immortal Jellyfish sending in an amplifier. That amplifier is just not being attacked at all. It's like Battlebridge sending in the amplifier. Immortal Jellyfish doesn't seem to be defending. They have no launchers after all. It seems like Battlebridge seems to be sending in some carriers to harvest from that mana well. And, it's taking up some vital spots around there. It's sort of crowding out Battlebridge. It's sort of crowding out Immortal Jellyfish's own carriers. Look at them. They're trying to get to that mana well, but they just don't have a turn.
Yeah, Battlebridge just have slightly higher resource income per turn if you look at the lots. Looks like their strategy is kind of working out. Not sure if that's intentional or not, but
certainly Battlebridge has launchers, and even though those launchers aren't being an effective offense right now, they can just send in they can just send in carriers. But now finally those launchers pathfind their way around, and wow,
finally
a stream of launchers
attacking.
just eradicating Immortal Jellyfish's carriers. Those carriers, trying to get mana to muster defense, but Battlebridge sending over their own carriers and just taking over all of the slots around that well. Kind of a humorous strategy to just see Battlebridge perhaps unintentionally use their carries as walls, but they will be taking the game and the set 3-1, a final score of 3-2. So such a close map. If Immortal Jellyfish maybe just snuck away one more game, they would have made the set. But congratulations to both teams for such a strong performance and such a close set.
We have
now,
Dumb Collectors versus Waterloo Geese.
Dumb Collectors versus the Waterloo Geese. I believe both teams quite strong, but we'll see how this pans out.
Yeah, obviously they have to be pretty strong if they've made it this far. So close to the end, so close to qualifying for our final tournament.
Certainly, I believe the winner of this match just needs to win one more set in order to qualify for the for the finals. We might need to double check that in the bracket later though, but regardless, it seems like it's quite a close set for now.
Yeah, it seems roughly even. Dumb Collectors does have control of both the top right and bottom right headquarters, it seems. We'll see if Waterloo Geese has anything to say about it, but I don't think they're going to be able to sneak out a win this time.
Certainly, Dumb Collectors with such a strong offense is going to take over this map and will take such a swift victory on island hopping. And now on to race to the top. Both these teams struggling a little at the start. The Waterloo Geese carrier struggling to get to that mana well, which might prove fatal. But for now,
Dumb Collectors manages to find their way back to the top, but Waterloo Geese not far behind them.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a very easy path to that mana well if you look at those currents, but Dumb Collector's navigating them so swiftly and deftly. But now Waterloo Geese has figured out how to get to a mana well, and now the resource advantage is plateauing. Both teams with so many launchers, but Waterloo Geese is holding the bottom left side of the map, not advancing to that top. Dumb Collector's control of the top side, but no anchors quite yet. If they sneak in a few anchors, it will be their victory. But for now, it looks like it will be a back and forth offense from both teams. Dumb Collectors holding a strong defense in those clouds.
Yeah, if Dumb Collectors manages to maintain their map control.
But now
they
2
might win off
islands
of
down.
islands.
If they can get one more island, Waterloo Geese will sneak away this map.
But it's so difficult with Dumb Collector's huge massive launchings.
Certainly, and now Dumb Collectors taking their own island, making it so much harder for Waterloo Geese to sneak this map away. Waterloo Geese now needs to remove that island, then control it, but it looks impossible with the number of launchers just circling it. Now Dumb Collector is starting an offense and capturing that third island. 20 times up. We'll see how this pans out. Seems like Dumb Collector sending a carrier down very swiftly. And now a bit of a launcher fight. Lots of Dumb Collector's launchers getting a little lost at the start on the top side of the map and proving fatal as their carriers are now being attacked by these launchers. Dumb Collectors has still an relatively even amount of mana and launchers compared to Waterloo Geese, perhaps due to the bottom side.
Yeah, Waterloo Geese's launchers on the right side, though, seem to be slightly healthier than Dumb Collector's launchers in the bottom lefts.
Certainly, and now it looks like Waterloo Geese is looking to take away this map. If they can just get to these islands, they have so much more launchers being produced, triple or double the number of launchers of Dumb Collectors, but Dumb Collectors has taken control of the top side, and maybe this will become a victory if they can convert this mana control of these top two wells into a resource and robot advantage.
Yeah, I think Waterloo Geese does have a few of the islands on the bottom.
Waterloo Geese needs to get more islands, I believe. Dumb Collectors with 4 islands might actually just take this game, even though they were so far behind initially. They pool all their resources into that top right, that top left headquarter, take control. Oh, but Waterloo Geese captures their own headquarters in the bottom side, and in a 4-4 island tiebreak. Oh, wait. It seems like Waterloo Geese capturing more islands over the course of the map, I must assume.
Yeah, both teams must have had 4 islands captured right now, but Waterloo Geese just has more total increased plays.
Certainly, Dumb Collectors making this a very difficult map for Waterloo Geese to close out, however. And on to Rockwall. Looks like both of these teams climbing up the wall now, having some trouble getting around, but Waterloo Geese is the first one. So might not be good for them, though. It seems like Dumb Collectors mustering a strong defense, and those launchers walking to their deaths. They may have path found their way around the wall, but that doesn't necessarily mean they wanted to.
Yeah, it seems like defenders' advantage is helping a bit as Dumb Collectors' launchers were just a bit more concentrated next to their headquarters.
Certainly easier to fight on the lower part of this wall than the upper part. But now a new offense being mustered, sniping away a few carriers, but now those launchers being destroyed themselves. Lots of Dumb Collectors' carriers really struggling to kill that last launcher. And it seems like Dumb Collectors has the huge resource advantage here, 27 launchers to 5. And now they're capturing islands.
Yeah, it looks like Dumb Collectors is going to take this game and probably take the series unless Waterloo Geese manages to do anything about it, but they're down to 0 launchers.
Certainly, but Waterloo Geese with 5 islands, certainly nothing to scoff at. If Dumb Collectors can't grab these islands for themselves, they will not be able to win the island tiebreak, but now it looks like they're grabbing their own islands. And now with so many launchers, anything that gets across is such a formidable force to Waterloo Geese. And now it looks like Dumb Collectors wants to close out this set 3-1 and move on in the loser's bracket. Waterloo Geese is looking for a miracle, but no miracle is to be found today. Waterloo Geese will be knocked out of the loser's bracket despite such a strong performance, and this will be Dumb Collectors advancing.
Okay.
So now we're all on finalist deciding games. Winners will all move on, starting from the winners bracket. Oh,
As we have
we're
experience
getting a fact check on this. So the winners of the winners finals and the losers finals will move on. Yes, so all winners will be moving on, but the losers of the winners bracket will get one more chance in the losers bracket, I believe. right? So now, yeah, so now on to our winners semifinals, I believe. We have Camel Case versus Meteor, No BFS Please versus Forcefully Drafted Kids, both Goliaths, as we've seen. No BFS Please versus Forcefully Drafted Kids will be our first set. And the winner of this will be our first finalist of Battlecode 2023. Keep your eyes peeled for who will be advancing to the final tournament.
No BFS Please seems to be taking early advantage of the middle.
Certainly, but now their own attack from Forcefully Drafted Kids on the top side, it looks like they might trade sides here. No BFS Please left a few launchers at home to defend, but now Forcefully Drafted Kids have taken over that headquarter. The launchers of No BFS Please rushing home to defend and are able to defend, but giving Forcefully Drafted Kids a few seconds of breathing room. And now with that breathing room, they get the mana back. They get new launchers, and these new launchers proving to be a horrible offense to No BFS's Please here. Now taking over this entire headquarter, and No BFS Please has no way of defending. A few launchers trying to come back home to defend, but just not able to do anything. Forcefully Drafted Kids looks like they will take this first game. Nobody actually contesting the middle this time.
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure if they found the islands.
Certainly not. And it looks like No BFS Please just no way of defending the offense here. An early skirmish going in the favor of No BFS Please, but Forcefully Drafted Kids launching their own counterattack and scattering the troops of No BFS Please. Incredible macro coming out from them. An incredible performance on his first game. They will be taking this first game from the islands. Now let's move on to the second, starting on the map Grapes.
Here you have early fights in the middle. It seems No BFS Please seems to be pushing their lead a bit. We'll see if they overextend, but for now it looks like they're continuing to be successful in these fights.
Certainly, even last game, it looked like No BFS Please got the upper hand in a lot of these smaller launcher micro fights. But Forcefully Drafted Kids were able to get through using their great macro and their great counterattack. But for now, Forcefully Drafted Kids looks hopeless as No BFS Please is just swarming this map with launchers. No BFS Please is now swarming this map with launchers and grabbing on to these anchors.
Yeah, we'll see if No BFS Please is able to close this game out with islands and be able to tie it up. Certainly,
this looks to be a close set so far, 1-1. Unless something happens here at the very end, perhaps No BFS Please will RC.resign, but this will not be the case. They will take the second game and it will be 1-1. Now on to Soundwave.
Yeah, we see both teams seem to be roughly even. No BFS Please trying to launch an early attack on the left side, but Forcefully Drafted Kids doing a decent job of repelling.
Yeah, a great defense, but now those carriers scattered by No BFS Please. Forcefully Drafted Kids with all their launchers on the right side of the map guards one headquarter, but loses their resource well in exchange. Not a worthwhile trade, it seems to me, but perhaps they'll be able to make something happen. All the mana coming back to their remaining headquarter now. Both teams have traded their headquarters. No BFS Please taking Dominion of the left side. Forcefully Drafted Kids holding onto the right just barely, but now No BFS Please with so many more launchers is going to regain control of their headquarter. And losing that early Monovel proving to be fatal for Forcefully Drafted Kids. No BFS Please certainly losing game 1, but striking back in both games 2 and 3, taking the lead 2-1, looking to close out the set on repetition. But Forcefully Drafted Kids still a strong force to be reckoned with. We'll see if they can strike back and bring this to a game 5. For now, a clash in the center of the map. No BFS Please distributing their launchers across and now taking Dominion of the middle. But Dominion of the middle, far less important in this map than previous. No BFS Please has control of the top left.
They have about twice as many launchers as Forcefully Drafted Kids, and if they can keep this up, they're gonna win the combat.
Certainly, but a lot of those launchers stuck in the middle of the map, but now they're starting to capture some islands. If Forcefully Drafted Kids can maybe sneak through and hold on to these monowells, they have a chance to continue on. They're still a third of four. Actually, No BFS Please lost a decent amount of launchers for a second. Forcefully Drafted Kids has almost the same number of launchers, maybe a bit of a resurgence, but 2 islands captured, and No BFS Please closes it out on the tiebreak.
Yeah, both teams focusing on combat and struggling to to enough violence, but the end result is no BFS please takes the series 3-1.
Yeah,
and
no
becomes our
BFS
first
please will be our
finalist.
first finalist of 2023. They will be moving on, and a strong competitor. They have proven to be our first seed entering the international qualifiers, and the first one leaving this tournament with the victory. Forcefully Drafted Kids will have another chance in the losers bracket, but a convincing victory from no BFS please on the maps, and a very close set overall. Now on to Meteor versus Camel Case, another clash of extremely strong teams. Winner of this will become the second finalist of 2023. For now, Meteor's the one to get control of the middle, but those launchers moving into middle leave the headquarters defenseless for half a moment, immediately coming back to defend from Camel Case's outside attack. Camel Case launchers from both sides, really splitting apart this force of Meteors, but Meteor with their clustered force in a more concentrated format, but they're losing out on so many resources right now. Those carriers can't get back home. They have control of the middle, but they can't get those mono wells on the sides, and now this is ballooning into a victory for Camel Case. Camel Case grabbing on to the third island. We'll take the first game on Flower. Flower, such a dynamic and interesting map we've seen, and really, really showing the incredible macro from both of these teams.
Yeah, we see which team's gonna win off of the early fights in the middle of the grapes here. Looks like both teams seem to be roughly equal. Meteor might be taking slight lead, but both teams pretty low in launcher counts right now. Camel Case actually has a launcher advantage right now. I'm not sure if that was from combat or if it's from econ.
Certainly, I think it was from combat, although it was very swift. It seems like Meteor grabbing onto the adamantium wall a little, but in such a small map, that's going to be fatal. Camel Case covering this grape in blue and making a sour. Now we're going to have them streaming towards the top right headquarter. And it seems like they're looking to take this game. Camel Case looks like they wanted to run away with the set 0-2. Meteor trying to grasp on to any victory they can.
Yeah, Camel Case just finding the mana well and taking advantage of that econ early on.
Yeah,
and winning the fight.
We've seen Camel Case with such incredible macro on both of these two maps. The early rush and early combat victory from Camel Case on Grapes, and the early and the incredible distribution of forces in the previous map too. Down to Soundwave, we'll see how these two teams perform against each other.
Yeah, there are early fights across the wall in the middle of the map. Neither team seems to be really fully crossing over to the other side yet.
Yeah, certainly, and they're in a pretty contested back and forth at the current moment, but Meteor seems to be getting the upper hand this time, unlike the previous. They're getting into a bit of a scrap in the middle, a flanking carrier from Meteor, but Meteor has control of the bottom right mana well, actually. They're the first to discover it, and it looks like this discovery leads to a resource advantage for Meteor, this resource advantage leading to a launcher victory if possible. They're now rushing in with a group of launchers. Camel Case still has control of one mana well, but no launchers to defend. All of their launchers getting sucked into the middle of the match into a hopeless combat against the Meteor's wave of launchers. And it looks like Camel Case is starting to bleed and show some weakness as Meteor takes the third game. Now onto repetition.
Yeah, we'll see which Meteor seems to be advancing pretty early on. It's in the middle from all four sides.
Certainly, Meteor taking control of this middle early on, but Camel Case not making it easy to get control of the middle, now taking control as well. They're fighting quite some contested fighting going on. On the other sides of the map, looks like Camel Case control of the bottom left, but Meteor in turn control of the top left, and now the other two sides even split. We'll see who's able to really come out on top of this combat. They're so close in resources. Meteor with slightly fewer launchers, but so much more mana stocked up. Now Meteor has control of the top right as well. 2 islands captured. Camel Case not giving up though, making things very difficult for Meteor. But Meteor is looking like they want to turn this into a game 5 set, unless Camel Case can really pull off a strong defense here. Camel Case still has control of the bottom left quadrant and still has strong control within the right side of the map. And they seem to have a resource advantage all of a sudden. A Meteor is sitting on so much mana, might just win a tiebreak if the islands are tied.
Yeah, Meteor seems to have a 1 island advantage right now, which if Camel Case isn't exploring, might end up making the difference.
Certainly, and it looks like this is such a close match, but Camel Case all of a sudden taking the lead in launchers. I didn't see what happened. It must have been an advantageous fight. 133 launchers for Camel Case. All of Meteor robots are our carriers and unable to fight back. Looks like Camel Case isn't going to let this become a game 5 if they can capture a few more islands. But for now, Meteor wins off the island tiebreak
by 1.
Camel Case with 87 launchers to 13, but not able to capture these islands.
Yeah, Meteor just having the better exploration, finding the island in the corner, making a difference and tying it up.
Yeah, certainly. Meteor looking like they want to turning this into a game 5, even though they were on the back foot that match, and showing that they aren't going to give up easily. Onto River, the winner of this game 5 will be our second finalist, Meteor versus Camel Case. And it seems like they're fighting over the control of the middle. Both teams in an early combat, some launchers back and forth, some carriers darting around in the middle. It's unclear who's really ahead yet, but it looks like maybe this is going to go to the resources. Both teams harvesting from these monowells really efficiently. But it looks like for now, Camel Case is starting to take a lead in launchers.
Yeah, Camel Case advancing a bit more towards the center of the map, but Meteor is more concentrated on
certainly. It looks like Camel Case really attacking over that wall and doing so much damage into the clouds. You know, the clouds restricting them to a vision radius of 2 tiles, but them utilizing those 2 tiles to their full potential, dealing so much damage to the launchers and carriers over walls. You know, an early tie really between the resources of these two teams. So Camel Case utilizing these launchers in such coordinated fashion to strike over these walls and really push such a convincing attack into this middle.
Yeah, but neither team has yet to capture any islands.
Certainly, but now Meteor with just 1-2 launchers left, looking for any hope. But look at that, Camel Case just patrolling the walls with these launchers, attacking any carriers, just raining death upon any carriers, trying to harvest from these wells around these walls. And those carriers just can't do anything.
Camel Case just needs one more island up. We'll see if they
and just one more island will be their finalist spot. Camel Case is looking to close out the set and close out their finalist position if they can just grab one more island. But Meteor is still not giving up yet. They're holding on to a few launchers in their headquarters. But for now, Camel Case is looking like they're going to take this game 5 set.
Yeah, Meteor just unable to have any map control, unable to capture any islands, and Camel Case takes the series 3-2.
Yeah, in such a close series, in such a close game 5, the team's really tied at the start, but just Camel Case navigating these clouds better and utilizing their launchers better around these wells. Going to be our second finalist. Congratulations to Camel Case for advancing to our final tournament, and good luck with Meteor in our losers bracket. And now we'll be doing our final 2 rounds, I believe. Or yes, our final 2 rounds, right? Yes.
Yeah,
our final 2 matches in the last rounds. Dumb Collectors versus Forcefully Drafted Kids, Meteor versus Battle Bridge. 1 team from each of these sets will make it out and 2 will go home. We'll see how this goes. Meteor versus Battle Bridge will be our first set onto Contraction, a huge map. We've seen Battle Bridge with its such coordinated attacks and such coordinated launcher strikes, while Meteor really is such a strong macro. Meteor grabbing onto those early mono wells might prove vital in a resource fight. It seems like they're really harassing this bottom left headquarter quite effectively, hiding along these clouds. Battle Bridge splitting their launcher force in 2 this time to defend both sides. Quite an impressive defense, but they're losing these monowells in the middle. And while these carriers are being attacked, they're losing so many resources, but the resource tie is still so close so far. Now Meteor gets those resources back home, gets those mono back home, makes so many launchers as a result. Battle Bridge holding a strong defense so far. If they can hold on to this middle, and now pushing in now, starting to turn. Now they have control of those middle 2 wells. Meteor grabbing onto an island. Battle Bridge is really taking control of this map all of a sudden. Now they're in the lead, 50 launchers to 4. What happened? Battle Bridge with an incredible
just turned it all around,
turning the match around. Meteor looks like they were going to close out that set off of the early control of the middle, but Battle Bridge with such a coordinated defense and such a coordinated attack, not letting Meteor approach and taking the first game. Now on to Marsh, really a map about finding the resources and finding a way to the enemy headquarters to cut off their supply lines, as we've seen. But it looks like Meteor will be the attacker this time. Battle Bridge holding a defense and is able to block away those launchers. Closer to home, they can send more launchers to combat and lead to a launcher advantage. But Meteor grabbing onto some of the mana from Battle Bridge's wells And it looks like that might be a mana advantage for Meteor all of a sudden, but Meteor has so few launchers to work with all of a sudden. Just sending in launchers one by one into Battle Bridge's coordinated group of launchers. But now, so much mana coming out of Meteor's production. Battle Bridge has cashed in on lots of the mana, but only has a few more launchers than Meteor, while Meteor holding on to 600 mana, starting to capture islands now and advance a force into Battle Bridge's base. Battle Bridge trying to defend this as well as they can, but so many of their robots are carriers and so many of their robots are dead. Meteor now grabbing onto islands, 4 islands taken. I believe they only need 2 more in order to close out this game. I think they need 3 more to close out this game, but now they have complete map dominion, and they may have lost that first game in a swing, but they're looking like they won't lose this second map in a swing. Meteor is not going to let Battle Bridge off easily from that first game victory, and they will be taking the second and tying it up 1-1. So far, such close maps, such close matches between our finalist deciders, and Battle Bridge and Meteor now onto Rock Wall, quickly exploring the map, both sides. But it looks like Meteor gets the upper hand in a launcher trade.
Yeah, Meteor is more able to find their way over and across the wall. We'll see if they're able to do anything.
First of launchers now coming in, instantly destroyed, but those launchers did their job. It's making it very hard for those carriers to get mana back to the headquarters.
Yeah, both teams with a few amplifiers. We'll see if they're able to use those amplifiers.
But Battle Bridge has a launcher advantage, and if they can group these launchers up and launch an attack, Meteor is defenseless. They only have 4 launchers to their name and a bit of mana. Battle Bridge has the method, has all of everything they need to win, but they're not able to make their way over this wall. That one amplifier stuck on the other side of the wall, really, and trying to communicate, trying to tell backup to come. But no backup is coming because they're just stuck on the wall. And now this is giving Meteor some time to recuperate. They have fewer launchers, but Battle Bridge isn't launching an offense that can really push their advantage. And Meteor is starting to catch up.
Yeah, we see that both teams unable to really capture any islands. Meteor finally captures 1 island on the bottom left, but we see either team is really able to start taking control of the entire map and
Battle Bridge is playing so defensively, and as a result, they're losing so much control over this map. Of course, there's no mana wells across this map, but these are islands that they're losing control of, and they're just giving Meteor more and more time to work with. They still do have a massive launcher advantage, 15-5. Meteor has no defenses. All of those robots are carriers.
Yeah, but Meteor has taken control of 3 islands. If Battle Bridge doesn't start doing the same, then Meteor might sneak away a victory.
Certainly, and it looks like this might be the case. Battle Bridge isn't capturing any islands. Meteor has 5 on the other hand. Carriers now flooding into Battle Bridge's side. They're all able to defend, but they can find out where these islands are and drop anchors if Battle Bridge isn't careful. Battle Bridge now with 19 launchers to 2. They have so much of an offensive force, but these launchers just dancing along the wall, being baited by Meteor. A few launchers finally making their way into Meteor's base and wrecking so much havoc. Meteor, no launchers to defend. And if a few more launchers from Battle Bridge make it over the wall, a few more launchers have made it over the wall, and they're now taking over islands. But these islands from Meteor have been so far apart, so far distributed. Now Battle Bridge needs to grab some islands in order to get this game. They have everything within their control. They just need anchors on these islands. No anchors are to be found though. Meteor still 3 islands under their control. Battle Bridge needs to get these islands out of the way, or they will just lose despite having a resource advantage. Battle Bridge is just so close to victory, but so far, and Meteor looks like they might be the one to win off tiebreak. Battle Bridge has 1 island. Meteor has 3. They need to get a few more islands, but Battle Bridge looks like they didn't get the islands, and Meteor takes the 3rd game of the set. Despite coming back from death's really just clawing their way back and just barely making it out of this game. Such close games between these 2 teams, but Meteor proving to have such a strong island capturing and macro strategy, and Battle Bridge really showing that they have such good offensive prowess.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, Meteor's carriers don't seem to instantly capture islands. A lot of the time they have an anchor and just sit on top of an island. I'm not sure what the point of that strategy is.
Certainly, Battle Bridge with such a strong offensive strategy, but Meteor with their own very incredible resource harvesting strategy and their very own incredible sort of macro covering around these different parts of this map. Now going to surround Battle Bridge's headquarters treasure map, a very volatile map. First to control those mana wells, really going to control the map. And it seems like Meteor will be the one taking this game and taking this set. Battlebridge needs to find a way back in order to advance into the finalists. The loser of this game will be knocked out. And it looks like it's hopeless. Meteor capturing 2 islands, now looking to get a third. Meteor showing that they may have led in the first few matches, but not going to let Battlebridge off easily. Battlebridge with such a strong showing and such a strong performance, but not able to close out the few vital games they needed. Congratulations to both teams for such an incredible performance and for making it this far. And congratulations for Meteor for being our 3rd international finalist. Now our final match of the day coming up. This is the last game. This will decide the last qualifying finalist internationally. Forcefully Drafted Kids versus Dumb Collectors. We'll see who's able to take the lead.
Starting once again on contraction.
Certainly starting on contraction, we've seen this, a very massive map, taking control of the middle, taking control of these resource deposits and farming them as efficiently as possible, proving vital to being the one who wins this game. And it seems like both teams doing really well, but it seems like Forcefully Drafted Kids with more carriers harvesting from that top left mono well so much. I assume they're going to get a mono lead here or a launcher lead, but it seems like that's not the case. Dumb Collectors with their own farming, quite efficient. And now it's tied neck and neck. Dumb Collectors grabbing onto those center mono wells, but Forcefully Drafted Kids launching a sneak attack through these clouds, going to get met with the defense from Dumb Collectors. Dumb Collectors has control of the top right of the map all of a sudden, and now these launchers circling that top right headquarter, making sure nothing can get out and nothing can get in. More importantly, Forcefully Drafted Kids still most of their carriers on the top left, but some of those carriers are trying to get back to the top right headquarter instead of the top left, and that's proving to be a vital mistake. They're losing so much mana just trying to make their way to a headquarter that's surrounded. They need to play off their strength and look at the mana lead. Now Dumb Collectors with twice the amount of launchers since Meteor just sends, since Forcefully Drafted Kids is sending so many carriers back to the wrong headquarter. And now Dumb Collectors realizing they have the launcher advantage and are able to push down that second headquarter is going to take this first game off the island win condition.
Back onto March, we see that Rich team manages to explore and finds the resources early on, just manages to snowball. But Forcefully Drafted Kids launching a stronger attack with a few launches early on. Dumb Collectors manages to defend it pretty well, and Dumb Collectors now is sending a few launches, wreaking havoc on the carriers trying to collect resources at the
Certainly,
top.
but Forcefully Drafted Kids is taking control of that bottom headquarter and is able to barely muster a defense on the top. It seems like if Forcefully Drafted Kids can maybe free those carriers back to their base, they will make such a contribution with the mana those carriers are holding. But Dumb Collectors not really able to. Forcefully Drafted Kids running their launchers into the headquarter, however, since it's covered in clouds. And this might be the fatal mistake. Dumb Collectors smart enough to wait outside of the of the headquarter damage range, while Forcefully Drafted Kids, no logic there, rushing their launchers in, and they may have gotten an early lead. They may have had more launchers and more carriers for a second, but those launchers running themselves into the enemy headquarter are going to be dispatched, and a fatal mistake from Forcefully Drafted Kids.
It looks like Dumb Collectors is going to take this game and it's going to lead in a series 2-0 unless Forcefully Drafted Kids manages to pull up some sort of random miracle play.
Certainly, and Dumb Collectors coming in as actually the underdog seed-wise into this match is going to be the one who first takes the lead, 2-0, going to look to close the set out if they can on the next match. Both games being incredibly close. Just tiny mistakes on Forcefully Drafted Kids, maybe moving their launchers in a little too close to the headquarters, moving their carriers to the wrong headquarter has been making the vital differences in these past two matches. But we'll see if they're able to navigate Rock Wall a little bit better. They're the first ones to find their way around the wall, and they're the first ones to start launching an offense. The Dumb Collectors losing too much health on their launchers through those little trades across the wall, and a flanking force from Forcefully Drafted Kids from over the wall is the one to wipe out the Dumb Collectors launchers. Now Forcefully Drafted Kids taking control of this match, starting to launch an offense, has 6 launchers to 2, but Dumb Collectors not far behind at all. If they can muster even the smallest defense, they will be able to hold on, but it seems like this isn't the case. Forcefully Drafted Kids this time waiting outside the headquarter damage radius, no clouds to cover the headquarter. Meanwhile, Dumb Collectors, no hope to be seen. Carriers unable to deliver resources back, and this will be a 3rd game victory for Forcefully Drafted Kids. breaking the set into a 1-2 and making sure that Dumb Collectors won't be taking a swift upset over them.
Yeah, we'll see which team manages to do better on the next map. First way drafted kids showing that despite losing the first few rounds, they still have fight in them, and that each game has just been so close, but snowballing a
each
lead.
game just down to the smallest mistakes. The first game down to just the tiny mistake of carriers, the second to launcher spacing, and the third, Dumb Collectors taking a few too many shots over the wall and going to end up being flanked. Now onto treasure map. This map hugely volatile on who captures the middle. That one launcher from Dumb Collectors is just destroying Forcefully Drafted Kids. But on the other side, Forcefully Drafted Kids takes over the other side. It looks like we might be seeing a game 5. They have control of the middle of the map, and now they're slowly circling around Dumb Collectors headquarters. Forcefully Drafted Kids really proving that they win out on this early macro and micro between the launchers and going to move this to a game 5. They may have lost 2 games in a row at the start, but now winning 2 games in a row on the next sets, they have the momentum. Dumb Collectors trying to close out the set in the game 5 if they can. We'll see who's able to take the game 5. The winner will be moving on to be a finalist, and the loser going to be knocked out, and we'll have to wait for next year. Now, on to Sakura as our game 5 map. We'll see who takes the lead in this larger size map.
Yeah, the team that manages to take control of the center of the map is just going to get a resource advantage. And
Dumb Collectors immediately rushing in a force of launchers and immediately striking into the heart of Forcefully Drafted Kids. But Forcefully Drafted Kids defending quite well. And now they have so much resource production going on for them in the bottom of the map. But Dumb Collectors launching a second attack now. And this attack is proving quite fatal. Those carriers have resources, but they just can't make it back to the headquarters. That headquarter isolated, cut off, and no launchers, no reinforcements coming to break them out of the encirclement. Now Dumb Collectors has control of 3 quadrants of this map and has control of many of these islands, honestly, if they can just move their launchers over to the middle. We'll see how this turns out, but this is looking to be an advantage for Dumb Collectors. Forcefully Drafted Kids, though, not so far behind on launchers and resources. They have control of the bottom. They have control of so many wells. And it's looking like maybe if they can launch an offensive, they have a chance back in. But now Dumb Collectors really ballooning their advantage with the extra mana well they have and making so much work out of this. They have so many launchers on the top side. Forcefully Drafted Kids really needs to launch a proper defense here. But now Dumb Collectors streaming in with their wallets, making sure that Forcefully Drafted Kids can't do anything to escape this encirclement. Look at those launchers circling around. Dumb Collectors looks like they want to be the finalist, and Forcefully Drafted Kids not able to muster defense. A few mistakes here and there are going to lead to a vital set loss. 3-2, it seems like. Dumb Collectors really showing their strength in these last few games, while Forcefully Drafted Kids not able to close out, not able to get a game 5 here, or not able to win the game 5 here. And Dumb Collectors will be our 4th and final international finalist. And congratulations to the exciting and incredible match we saw between our teams today. And congratulations to the teams for having such incredible robots. You know, even the really close sets, the 3-0 to 5-0 really being really close between the teams, and all of our international teams with such a strong performance. But our final 4 teams will be Meteor, Dumb Collectors,
No BFS Please,
No BFS Please, and Camel Case. Our 4 international finalists, but our other teams also quite strong.
We are not sponsored by the Elder Scrolls.
We were not sponsored by the Elder Scrolls. Google is recommending ads, I suppose.
Yeah, just a clarification.
Now,
although Elder Scrolls, if you're watching this, you may want to sponsor
although
us.
If Elder Scrolls wants to sponsor us, we are looking for more sponsors next year. But an incredible showing from all of our teams today, and a very, very close international qualifiers. Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you to all of the teams who participated. 31 teams in from across the world and 4 teams out. All incredible, an incredible upset too. Thank you everybody for coming today. And that will be our international qualifiers. Congratulations to all the teams who participated, and we hope to see you next year.
Thank you guys.
Tune in for the US qualifiers in 2 days.
And if you haven't submitted yet, the submission deadline is coming up.
Yes, and also if you are a US qualifier candidate who wants to participate, make sure to submit your resume before you can actually participate in the actual qualifiers.
Mhm.